Chapter 81. In the courtyard of Sky Tower's second elder, young Kai was wolfing down food while Sassafras and the others sat beside him and chatted with him. Of course, they were also inquiring about why Su Yang had dealt such a heavy blow to young Kai that night, but young Kai didn't dare to say anything. That's right, Wei Zhuan didn't bother you again, right? Young Kai changed the topic. Ever since he left the forest prison that day, he had been unconscious and frozen in ice. Young Kai really didn't know how the sect dealt with this matter. That matter is already in the past. In the pavilion, from the elders to us younger disciples, no one will bother with that matter anymore. Sassafras replied, then suddenly looked at young Kai with a puzzled expression. Actually, the reason why we are safe and sound this time is not because of my grandfather. Chem. Young Kai raised his head. Isn't it because of the second elder's actions? No. Sassafras slowly shook his head, and somewhat embarrassedly told young Kai about what happened that day in the elder hall, then said, "Guess who came when I was stopped by my grandfather?" Who? You would never have guessed that it was actually Treasurer Meng from the contribution hall. He brought the sect leader's jade pendant and also the sect leader's instructions. That's how he managed to turn the matter into a small one. Old man Meng? Young Kai was stunned. If it wasn't for him, Brother Yang, I'm afraid you would have been severely punished by the first elder. Sassafras said with a face full of guilt. Young Kai smiled freely. Junior brother, don't take it to heart. Sassafras repeatedly bowed. Brother, I know that the master is magnanimous. I'll apologize to you on behalf of my grandfather. Old man Meng really didn't do the right thing this time. Young Kai didn't take it to heart. When the upper echelons fought, they would always use their disciples as chess pieces. This was human nature. Sassafras continued, Treasurer Meng's origin is mysterious. Old man Meng also said that his strength is unfathomable. I just don't know why he got involved in this matter, and why he even has a relationship with the sect leader. Young Kai pondered, Old man Meng is the kind of person who doesn't take advantage of opportunities. If there is no benefit, he wouldn't do such a thing. He must have a motive. But no matter what, it is a fact that he helped us. Senior brother, you're right. We're waiting for you to join us, Sumu said. Let's go now. There was no time to lose. A group of people majestically charged towards the contribution hall. Inside the contribution hall, Treasurer Meng was not sleeping, but instead was sitting behind the counter, smiling at young Kai's group as they entered, as if he had been waiting for them. Grandpa. In the past, this second generation had always called Treasurer Meng Old Man Meng. But today, Sassafras didn't dare to be presumptuous in front of him. Treasurer Meng smiled. You're a good boy. Hee hee. Sassafras was embarrassed. You're here to thank me? Treasurer Meng looked at everyone. The group nodded. That's enough. Little young Kai stays. The rest of you can leave. Yes. Sumu and the others didn't dare to hesitate. Before the soles of their feet had even warmed, they hurriedly bowed and retreated. After leaving the contribution hall, everyone understood that the reason Treasurer Meng had helped them was all because of Kai Yang. Otherwise, why would he leave senior brother Yang behind? But, why did he help brother Yang? Inside the contribution hall, young Kai was also puzzled. Treasurer Meng, what do you want from me? He didn't beat around the bush. Instead, he directly asked the question in his heart. Meng Wu Ye laughed and walked out from behind the counter. With his hands behind his back, he walked in circles around young Kai. After walking a few circles, he raised his head and asked, What do you think I want from you? I don't know. Young Kai rolled his eyes. If I knew, why would I ask you? Meng Wu Ye continued, Since you're so honest, I won't play dumb with you. You should be a person who knows how to repay kindness. This time, I'm helping you out because I want you to do me a favor. Young Kai frowned. How can I help you? Treasurer Meng's strength was profound. If he couldn't do it, how could he? As if he saw through young Kai's worries, Treasurer Meng smiled. Don't worry, there's no danger. As long as you meet the conditions, not only will there be no danger, there will also be great benefits waiting for you. Young Kai was keenly aware that when Treasurer Meng said that last sentence, there was a hidden pain on his face. You want me to meet the conditions to help you? Young Kai was even more puzzled. He had never seen such a person who was so picky when asking for help. Treasurer Meng said, "Not only do you have to meet my conditions, you also have to satisfy the other person." "That's too troublesome, I won't do it." Yang Kai was about to leave. "Don't." Treasurer Meng was anxious. It wasn't easy to find someone who met his conditions. How could he let him go like this? "Little Yang Kai, you can't be like this. You should know that a drop of water should be repaid with a spring of water. No matter what, this old man is your savior. How can you let me down? Then you don't have to beat around the bush. Tell me what you want. If I can help, I will. If I can't, then you can find someone else. Give me your hand. I want to check the yuan qi in your body." Treasurer Meng didn't dare to keep him in suspense. Yang Kai suspiciously looked at him and stretched out his hand. He believed that Treasurer Meng wouldn't do anything to harm him. Meng Wu Yue stretched out 2 fingers and placed them on Yang Kai's wrist. His face was serious as he examined it. His expression kept changing. At first, it was indifferent, but then it changed to a serious expression. His expression changed so quickly that it made people dumbfounded. Good, good, good. What a pure yang qi. Meng Wu Yue retracted his hand. He was overjoyed. Does this have something to do with the yuan qi I've cultivated? Yang Kai guessed. Of course it has something to do with it. Meng Wu Yue nodded. Why else would I look for you? Little Yang Kai, I want to ask you a question. You must answer me honestly. What question? Meng Wu Yue's expression suddenly became awkward. His eyes drifted around as he carefully considered his words. After a long time, he nervously and expectantly asked, "You're still a virgin, right?" Because he was too nervous, Meng Wu Yue stretched his neck and put his face in front of Yang Kai. His 2 eyes stared straight at him. Yang Kai quickly retreated 2 steps. Then 3 steps. Goosebumps appeared all over his body. He couldn't help but shiver. He vigilantly asked, "What are you doing?" This old man, did he have some kind of special fetish? This question was too nonsensical. Why did you run so far? This old man won't eat you. Meng Wu Yue chased Yang Kai until he was forced into a corner. He mysteriously asked in a low voice, "Are you still a virgin or not? What do you want?" Yang Kai put on a "if you dare to mess around, I'll take you down with me" posture. What do you think this old man is? Meng Wu Yue saw Yang Kai's appearance and finally woke up. He couldn't help but blush. He quickly retreated a few steps. "It's not what you think. You brat, how can you be so dirty?" Chapter 82. I don't know who's the dirty one, staring at other girls' buttocks and thighs all day long. Yang Kai mercilessly retorted. "You're talking about this again." Meng Wu Yue was scared and looked around. Not knowing who heard him, he cupped his hands and said, "Young Master Yang, Uncle Yang, let's not talk about this again, okay? This old man just wants to see how they're developing, not do anything to them." Seeing him admit defeat, Yang Kai didn't continue to pursue the matter and said seriously, "What you want me to help you with, is it related to this?" "Yes." Speaking of business, Meng Wu Yue's expression became serious. "So little Yang Kai, you have to tell me the truth. Have you ever had sex with a girl? Cough cough." "This is a serious matter." Yang Kai's face was embarrassed. He sniffed and said, "I haven't." "Good." Meng Wu Yue's heart finally dropped. "Very good. Little Yang Kai, you're a good man." In this era, many men at the age of 14 or 15 had intimate contact with women. The children of poor families didn't need to be mentioned. They started their families early in order to continue the family line. The children of rich families didn't need to be mentioned. They didn't even need to be mentioned. They already had several maids. Only a cultivator, as long as they weren't too lustful, would lose their virginity very late. Some cultivators would never have intimate contact with the opposite sex. In the eyes of a cultivator who pursued cultivation and strength, the prosperity of the world was just a dream. After 100 years, a beautiful woman would be nothing more than a skeleton. Only the peak of the martial path was their goal. Once they were strong, would they be afraid of not being able to find a woman? Among the male disciples of Sky Tower, there were many 15 to 16 years old who wandered around the brothels. Although Meng Wu Ya believed that Yang Kai wasn't that kind of person, he still had to be cautious and ask clearly. In other words, I can help you. Yang Kai looked at Meng Wu Ya. If you can't, then no one in the world can. You've passed my test. Meng Wu Ya was in a good mood and couldn't help but laugh. Then you just said that you want another person to be satisfied? Yang Kai asked doubtfully. Meng Wu Ya's smile disappeared and his expression became strange. He nodded and said, yes, we have to satisfy her. If she isn't satisfied, then this matter can't be done. To tell you the truth, a few months ago, I found someone who fit the criteria, but she wasn't willing, so I could only drop the matter. Forget it, I'll take you to see her. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. After talking for a long time, Meng Wu Ya didn't know how to continue. He could only sigh faintly and lead Yang Kai outside. Yang Kai hurriedly said, let me say this first. I'm only here to help you, to thank you for your kindness. If that person wants me to do something too excessive, I won't agree. Smelly brat. Meng Wu Ya was in a gloomy mood, so when he heard Yang Kai's excuses, he couldn't help but feel annoyed. He thought that if this brat knew how to help, then he would definitely agree. But now he's acting like a good boy in front of me. As he followed Meng Wu Ya, Yang Kai discovered that the two of them were actually heading towards the coiling dragon stream. Moreover, this direction was where he usually cultivated. Why would he want to go there? When he usually cultivated, he didn't see anyone there. The coiling dragon stream was a dangerous place, so very few people would go there. When they were about 100 feet away from his usual cultivation spot, Meng Wu Ya suddenly stopped and pointed in front of them. Look there. Yang Kai looked up and couldn't help but be startled. At the place where he usually cultivated, there was actually a woman standing in front of the 3 sun fruit trees that he planted. She was wearing a light green dress. He didn't know what she was thinking about, but she was actually in a trance. Her body didn't move at all, and she allowed the wind to blow as her clothes fluttered. She was wearing a veil, so people couldn't see her face clearly. Her forehead was adorned with a blue gem, which made her look so elegant and refined. She had a slender figure that seemed to be too weak to stand up to a gust of wind, but her figure was graceful. Her watery eyes were full of innocence, making her look like a child who hadn't grown up yet. Seeing her, Yang Kai remembered that night, under the moonlight, the sleeping beauty on his bed. It's her. Yang Kai's eyes suddenly softened. You know her? Meng Wu Ya suddenly became alert. His precious disciple had told him that she had never spoken to Yang Kai before. How was it that when it came to Yang Kai, the two of them already knew each other? The one who wants my help is her? Yang Kai looked at Meng Wu Ya and asked. Yes. Meng Wu Ya nodded. I'll help. Contrary to Treasurer Meng's expectations, Yang Kai didn't hesitate and directly agreed. Meng Wu Ya had asked him to prepare a speech, such as using reason to persuade with emotion, enticing with benefits, threatening with force. All of it was useless. Meng Wu Ya's heart suddenly had a bad feeling, and he suddenly regretted looking for Yang Kai. Why did you agree so quickly? Old man Meng was vigilant. Wasn't it you who wanted my help? Yang Kai frowned and looked at Meng Wu Ya with a puzzled expression. This old man's attitude had changed too quickly. I did want your help, but you agreed too quickly. Meng Wu Ya waved his hand. You have to give me an explanation. Then do you want my help or not? Yang Kai was impatient. Of course I want it. Then why are you still asking? Isn't it a good thing that I agreed? That's right, wasn't it a good thing that he agreed so quickly? Why did he feel that something was wrong? Meng Wu Ya was stunned. Yang Kai walked over step by step. The sound of his footsteps startled Xia Ningchang, who was deep in thought. When she came back to her senses, Yang Kai had already arrived by her side. Xia Ningchang was clearly shocked, and looked at Yang Kai helplessly. She couldn't help but panic. She had met with him twice at night, and both times something embarrassing had happened, so how could Xia Ningchang remain calm? Senior sister Xia. Yang Kai looked at her. Why are you here? I came to help you look after the fruits. You haven't been here for a few days, so I was afraid that these fruits had been picked by someone else. Xia Ningchang quickly explained. Yang Kai turned his head to look, and found that the fruits on the 3 trees he had planted before were all gone, leaving only the last tree with 3 fruits that were about to ripen. "These are your fruits, I refined them into pills." As Xia Ningchang spoke, she took out a small bottle and handed it to Yang Kai. Yang Kai took it, and found that there were 9 red pills rolling around in the bottle, emitting a strong yang energy. They were very pure, without any other ingredients mixed in. But how could a single 3 sunfruit be used to refine pills? "Senior sister knew that I was cultivating here?" Yang Kai looked up and asked. If not, why would she help him look after the 3 suns fruit tree? Xia Ningchang avoided his gaze. "I saw it by accident." "So the person that night was you?" Yang Kai smiled, and his heart warmed. Chapter 83. That night, when Yang Kai was breaking through to the initial element realm, a masked woman had ambushed him. At first, he thought that she was trying to kill him, but in the end, he realized that wasn't the case. She only wanted to help him. Otherwise, with her strength, he wouldn't have been able to resist. At that time, Yang Kai had some doubts. Now, he had finally confirmed the masked woman's identity. At this moment, Yang Kai's heart was filled with gratitude towards this senior sister Xia. Old man Meng stepped out at the wrong time and stood between Kai Yang and Xia Ningchang. Like a mother hen protecting her chicks, he protected his precious disciple behind him. Yang Kai looked at him suspiciously. "You know each other?" Meng Wu Ya snorted, his face full of pride and satisfaction. "This is my disciple." "Your disciple?" Yang Kai's jaw almost hit the ground. His eyes kept moving between Xia Ningchang and Meng Wu Ya, full of disbelief. Who would have thought that such an unreliable person like Treasurer Meng would actually accept a disciple? Wasn't this leading to the wrong disciple? "You two know each other?" Meng Wu Ya looked at Yang Kai. "Nope." Xia Ningchang's answer was very simple and decisive. While speaking, she hid behind Meng Wu Ya and waved her small hands. Understanding her intentions, Kai Yang chuckled. "We don't really know each other, it's just that senior sister helped me out a little that night." Meng Wu Ya nodded slightly. Xia Ningchang had also told him about this matter. It was because of that night that Xia Ningchang felt that Yang Kai's yang qi was very pure. "Treasurer Meng, what does senior sister Xia want me to help with? Can you tell me?" Yang Kai's expression became serious. Since it was Xia Ningchang's matter, Yang Kai naturally wouldn't refuse. Meng Wu Ya didn't answer. He just looked at his precious disciple and asked, "Can he do it?" Xia Ningchang's delicate earlobes suddenly turned red. She lowered her eyes, and her long eyelashes trembled. After a long while, she nodded imperceptibly. Seeing her like this, Meng Wu Ya couldn't help but sigh. Fine. We don't have much time left. He's the one." Kai Yang stood to the side and watched, but didn't ask anything. After a while, Meng Wu Ya suddenly asked seriously, "Yang Kai, do you know that there are some people in this world who are born different from the rest? These people are born with abilities that ordinary people can't see through." Yang Kai's expression turned serious as he whispered, "Treasurer Meng, are you talking about those with special constitutions?" "That's right." Meng Wu Ya nodded. "These people are blessed by the heavens and are also favored by the heavens. Some people's constitutions are suitable for cultivation. Some people's constitutions are easy to heal after being injured. Some people's constitutions are suitable for battle. There are all kinds of strange constitutions, but no matter which one it is, as long as they have a special constitution, they can reach heights that no one else could ever hope to reach in their territory. Ordinary people like us are very envious of people with special constitutions. However, people with special constitutions are very rare. In 1,000,000 people, there might not even be one. Little Yang Kai, you're lucky. Today, I'll let you see someone with special constitutions." Yang Kai's expression turned cold. He looked at Xia Ningchang, who was standing behind Meng Wu Ya with surprise. Could it be that senior sister Xia? Haha. Meng Wu Ya's face was filled with pride as he smiled happily. He nodded slightly. "That's right. Ningchang's constitution is different from ordinary people." Yang Kai's emotions fluctuated. He never thought that this easily shy and timid senior sister would be such a lucky person. What kind of constitution does senior sister have? Yang Kai couldn't help but be curious. Meng Wu Ye didn't answer. Instead, he muttered to himself for a moment before opening his mouth. The fruits on this tree have just ripened. Disciple, go and pick them. Ning Chang followed his instructions and walked to the last 3 suns fruit tree. Then, she gently plucked the 3 fruits from the tree. Yang Kai didn't interrupt. He felt that his doubts would be answered soon. Disciple, let him see your abilities. Meng Wu Ye chuckled. Xia Ning Chang nodded slightly. She walked in front of Yang Kai and stretched out her delicate hand. That hand was white and slender. In her delicate palm were the 3 suns fruits that had just been plucked. Junior brother, please take a look. Xia Ning Chang said softly. She slightly circulated the yuan qi in her body. Yang Kai's expression suddenly became shocked. This was because he discovered that as Xia Ning Chang circulated her energy, the 3 suns fruits in her small hand actually overflowed with red energy. That was the yuan qi contained within the fruits. Yang Kai practiced the true yang tactics, so he was very sensitive to the yuan qi. Naturally, he could feel that the energy within the 3 suns fruits was being crazily extracted. But, how did this happen? The energy that leaked out from the 3 suns fruit gathered in front of Xia Ning Chang. No matter how strong the wind blew, it did not disperse. In less than 10 breaths of time, the 3 suns fruits had lost their original color and luster. Not only that, the 3 suns fruits quickly dried up. When the wind blew, they turned into fine powder and dissipated into the air. Xia Ning Chang moved again. She held the condensed yang yuan qi in one hand while her other hand danced in the air. Following her movements, the yang qi under the coiling dragon stream rose into the air like pillars of water. They all rushed towards Xia Ning Chang. She casually grabbed a strand of energy and threw it into the red mass of energy in front of her. Her hands moved faster and faster. Each grab was able to grab the yang qi that rushed out of the coiling dragon stream and merge it into the red mass of energy in front of her. As time passed, the red mass of energy in front of her didn't become much bigger. Instead, it became smaller and smaller. However, the amount of yang yuan qi it contained was increasing. After a while, Xia Ning Chang finally stopped grabbing the yang yuan qi from the coiling dragon stream. Her 2 hands pressed the red mass of energy towards the center. Her 2 palms quickly closed together. When she opened her palms again, there were 3 bright red pills in her hands. The pills were round and attractive. The pill halo and pill veins were clearly visible. Kai Yang was already dumbstruck. The scene in front of him could only be described as godly. There was no other way to describe it. At this moment, Yang Kai finally understood how senior sister Xia had given him the bottle of pills. All of them were refined this way. However, wasn't this a bit too simple and easy? Alchemists were rare to begin with. When refining pills, there was also a risk of failure. Furthermore, when alchemists were refining pills, they also needed special tools, such as a medicinal furnace and furnace fire. However, this senior sister Xia in front of him had only used her hands. Other than the 3 suns fruit, she didn't use any other materials. Yet, she was able to easily refine 3 pills. For you. Xia Ning Chang extended her hand in front of Yang Kai. Yang Kai took a deep breath and calmed the shock in his heart. He picked up the 3 pills and carefully sensed them. He found that each of these pills contained more yang yuan qi than a single 3 suns fruit. After all, when refining these 3 pills, Xia Ning Chang had borrowed the yang qi from the coiling dragon stream. Senior sister, if you were to refine pills, I'm afraid that the people from Medicine King Valley wouldn't have any business. Yang Kai smiled bitterly. He had never seen anyone who could simplify refining pills to such an extent. Chapter 84. Even those in Medicine King's Valley who claim to be alchemists for a living may not have the same level of attainments as Xia Ning Chang. What kind of physique does senior sister have? Yang Kai turned his head and asked. Meng Wu Ye replied in a deep voice, Sacred Spirit Medicine Body. It's related to alchemy? Correct. Meng Wu Ye nodded, This physique is very special and may not appear even once in 1,000 years. Those who possess the sacred spirit medicine body will not suffer from any side effects when taking pills. You should also know that every medicine has a side effect. Although there are many pills that can assist in cultivation and even increase a person's strength, there is still a limit. However, there was a limit to how many dans a person could take. The sacred spirit medicine body was different. It could be said that the sacred spirit medicine body was the best medicine furnace in the world. Once the dans entered the stomach, anything harmful could be refined. This senior sister of yours has only cultivated for 5 years and has already reached the peak of separation and reunion boundary. If I had not deliberately suppressed her cultivation, she would have already broken through to Yuan Qi boundary. Yang Kai was shocked. 5 years to reach the peak of separation and reunion boundary? Even Xie Hong Chen was only at this level. How long had he cultivated? More than 10 years. Moreover, this was after suppressing her cultivation. If she had not suppressed it, wouldn't it mean that she was even more powerful than Su Yang? Yang Kai blushed with shame. Compared to this senior sister, the difference was like heaven and earth. The one in front of him was the greatest genius of High Heaven Pavilion. However, senior sister Xia being able to grow so quickly was inseparable from the large number of pills she took. Meng Wu Yue continued, the sacred spirit medicine body does not only have these benefits. If one cultivates a divine skill that is compatible with it, then as long as there is energy in the world, they can be refined into pills. Even the world's world energy, as long as disciple is willing, can be refined into pills. Anything in the world, as long as there is energy, can be refined into pills. If the world's world energy could be refined, then the Three Suns fruit would naturally not be a problem. Yang Kai could almost foresee that this senior sister Xia would definitely be the best alchemist in the world in the future. Just based on her unique physique, no one could compare to her. This time, Ning Chang wants to break through to the Yuan Qi stage, but before that, she needs to refine something into her body. She can't do it alone. Meng Wu Yue looked at Yang Kai seriously. Is that why you need my help? Yang Kai asked. Meng Wu Yue nodded. What kind of thing? The 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew. This thing is extremely beneficial to condensing Yuan Qi. If not for the fact that I wanted Ning Chang to refine this thing, I wouldn't have suppressed her cultivation. When one advanced from separation and reunion level to Yuan Qi level, the Yuan Qi in one's body would be transformed into Yuan Qi, and its quality would be improved by countless levels. This was a process that every cultivator would have to go through. However, during this process, if one supplemented it with a few heavenly treasures, then the quality of the transformed Yuan Qi would be better. This the 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew was clearly such a heavenly treasure, and it was definitely the best heavenly treasure. The 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew has its own spirituality, so it's very difficult to obtain it. If someone who doesn't meet the requirements touches it, it will immediately turn into spirit qi and disappear. Only those who cultivate the yang attribute Yuan Qi have the ability to control it. Moreover, the yang attribute Yuan Qi in one's body must be pure to a certain degree. This is the reason why I'm looking for you. What exactly do I need to do? Yang Kai asked. Meng Wu Yue immediately became impatient. Why are you asking so much? When the time comes, I'll naturally tell you. Yang Kai pinched his nose, not knowing why old man Meng was so angry. Where is this thing? When are we leaving? In Blackwind Mountain, there is a 9th Yin congregation ground there. On the 7th day of the 7th month, Yin Qi gathers. Only then will the 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew appear and absorb the Yin Qi of heaven and earth. Then there aren't many days left. Yang Kai calculated a little and found that there were only a few days left until the 7th day of the 7th month. If they wanted to go deep into Blackwind Mountain, then the journey would take a lot of time. So if you don't have anything to do, I want to go there as soon as possible. If we miss this opportunity, we'll have to wait another year. Meng Wu Yue said seriously. I'm available at any time. Yang Kai smiled slightly. Then come to the contribution hall in 2 days to find me. I still need to prepare some materials. Meng Wu Yue said. Okay, then it's settled. Both sides agreed to meet at the contribution hall in 2 days, then Yang Kai left. Looking at his back, Meng Wu Ya sighed slightly. His expression was strange, and it was unknown what he was thinking. After a while, he said, "Disciple, are you sure you want to do this?" Xia Ningchang's dress fluttered, and she nodded lightly, "Yes." Meng Wu Ya said, "Actually, you don't need to refine the 9th yin yuan condensing due to reach yuan qi. It's just that your strength will be slightly lower in the future." Xia Ningchang laughed lightly, "But I want to help Master. Isn't it better to have pure yuan qi? Master saved me and raised me, and I want to help Master. But, hey, why don't you think about it again?" The reason why Meng Wu Ya left 2 days was to let Xia Ningchang think about it more. Xia Ningchang blushed, "It's nothing, I don't hate him." Meng Wu Ya sighed, "That brat got lucky." Thinking of Yang Kai's indifferent expression, Meng Wu Ya gnashed his teeth in anger. "You're only here to help, but you don't think about how much of an advantage you'll get. Please don't cause any sparks." In the end, this small place was not a suitable place for his disciple. Meng Wu Ya was full of worry. Yang Kai didn't go to Su Yang's small loft again, and instead returned to the small wooden house he had been away from for a few days. Although he hadn't been back for a few days, the small wooden house was still as clean as new. Not even a speck of dust was left behind. He didn't know who had helped him clean. Although Treasurer Meng's explanation was vague, Kai Yang basically knew where he was going and what he had to do. Since it was the 9th yin congregation ground, the yin qi there was definitely heavy. His true yang yuan qi was the nemesis of yin qi, so he wasn't afraid. It was just that his current strength was too low. If he didn't store some yang liquid, he wouldn't be able to last long. It just so happened that senior sister Xia helped him refine the 3 suns fruit into pills, which was a good way to replenish his yang liquid. There were 4 3-sun fruit trees, and each tree had 3 fruits, which were refined into 12 bright red pills. If each pill could be refined into 3 drops of yang liquid, then he would have a total of 36 drops of yang liquid. Whether it was used in battle or to resist yin qi, this yang liquid was very useful. It was something he could rely on to survive. It took Kai Yang an entire day to completely absorb the medicinal efficacies of the 12 pills. He didn't just obtain 36 drops of yang liquid, but a total of 40 drops. Including the few drops he had in the Dantian's reserves were quite abundant. This time, he finally had some capital to rely on. Not only did he obtain so much yang liquid, but when the last fruit was refined, Yang Kai found that he had broken through to the initial element boundary 4th stage. This breakthrough came without any warning, so he wasn't mentally prepared at all. The breakthrough was also quite natural, and he didn't even feel anything before it was completed. Thinking about it, Yang Kai felt that it was related to the pills he had eaten these past few days. First, he ate a dozen bottles of pills from Su Yang, then he ate 12 3 suns pills. With such a large amount of energy gathered, it wasn't strange for him to break through. Chapter 85. The next morning, in front of the contribution hall, Yang Kai gently knocked on the door. A moment later, the door opened and Xia Ningchang came out with a small package on her shoulder. The package was filled with many things. "Junior brother, you've come." Xia Ningchang softly greeted. "En." Yang Kai nodded. "Where's Treasurer Meng?" He suddenly had a relapse yesterday and had to stay behind to treat his wounds. "He can't go." While Xia Ningchang was speaking, her eyes were flashing non-stop. Her 2 rows of dense eyelashes were also trembling like a fan. Yang Kai suspiciously looked at her, while Xia Ningchang's eyes flashed with a trace of panic. "Then should we wait for him?" Yang Kai guessed, but didn't point it out. "No need, I know where that place is. Moreover, there's not much time left. Master said that we don't need to wait for him." Seeing that Yang Kai didn't want to get to the bottom of the matter, Xia Ningchang couldn't help but feel relieved. "All right." Yang Kai hesitated for a moment, but still agreed. "We'll have to trouble junior brother this time." Xia Ningchang let out a long sigh. "Senior sister is too polite." Yang Kai smiled faintly. The 2 of them then left High Heaven Pavilion. In a side room of the contribution hall, Meng Wu Ya was currently sleeping on the table. There were several exquisite dishes on the table, as well as several pots of wine. It was obvious that Treasurer Meng was tasting the wine and delicacies before he fell asleep. These delicacies were all made by Xia Ningqiang, but there was a special seasoning added to them. Using Xia Ningqiang's sacred spirit medicine body as the base, even an expert like Meng Wu Ye couldn't resist the special seasoning. Meng Wu Ye estimated that he would sleep for several days at the very least. Meng Wu Ye had been shrewd all his life, but he never thought that there would be a day when his old horse would stumble and fall at the hands of his treasured disciple. It could be said that one false step could lead to everlasting regret. By the time Meng Wu Ye woke up, everything would be a foregone conclusion. When Yang Kai and Xia Ningqiang arrived at Black Plum Town, they bought 2 horses and some daily necessities before setting off. While shopping, Yang Kai also inquired about the location of the place they were going to. According to Xia Ningqiang, it was about a 10-day journey from Black Plum Town to Blackwind Mountain. Although it was a long journey, they still had plenty of time. Not long after the 2 left High Heaven Pavilion, this news reached Xie Hongchen's ears. Since that day when he saw Su Yang and Yang Kai acting so intimately in the forest prison, Xie Hongchen had been drowning his sorrows in alcohol for several days. Yesterday, he had finally calmed down, and after thinking about it for a while, he felt that what had happened that day was not what he had seen. What kind of temperament Su Yang had, Xie Hongchen couldn't be any clearer. With her arrogance and strength, how could she be interested in Yang Kai, who was only at the 3rd level of the initial element realm? What's more, the 2 of them didn't seem to have any contact at all. They were basically strangers. Xie Hongchen finally understood that Su Yang and Yang Kai were only acting that day. At that time, jealousy had turned into hatred, and Xie Hongchen didn't have time to think about whether it was real or not. But after thinking about it, Xie Hongchen's spirit was greatly lifted. Yesterday, he went to find Su Yang to express his feelings. He was elegant and graceful, not at all crazy and out of control like that day. Although in the end, he was still kicked out by Su Yang, the knot in Xie Hongchen's heart was lifted. As long as Su Yang wasn't taken by another man, she would be his one day. Xie Hongchen was very confident. After all, he was the most outstanding male disciple of High Heaven Pavilion, and Su Yang was the most outstanding female disciple. The combination of the 2 was naturally something the elders wanted to see. Early in the morning, Xie Hongchen carefully prepared to go to Blackwind Trade to visit Su Yang. But just as he was about to leave, a disciple of the Law Enforcement Hall suddenly rushed in with a surprised expression. "Brother Xie, Yang Kai just left High Heaven Pavilion." Hearing this, Xie Hongchen's eyes lit up. "He left alone?" "No, he left with a disciple of the Dark Hall called Xia Ningqiang." The disciple replied. "Xia Ningqiang." Xie Hongchen narrowed his eyes. "I know her. Her strength is comparable to mine, but she isn't a core disciple. That woman is very strange. Where did they go?" Xie Hongchen thought for a moment, a trace of madness suddenly surging in his eyes. "That waste actually left High Heaven Pavilion at this time. If I can kill him outside, wouldn't I be able to resolve the hatred in my heart? I don't know their destination, but it looks like they're going somewhere because they bought 2 horses in Black Plum Town." "Going somewhere?" Xie Hongchen raised his brow. "Good, good, very good." After saying good a few times, Xie Hongchen suddenly turned his head and said with a ferocious expression, "Go find a few trustworthy senior marshal brothers who are at least at the separation and reunion boundary to accompany me on this trip." "Brother, what do you want to do?" Heh, isn't it obvious what I want to do? Why are you still asking?" Xie Hongchen's face contorted. He wanted to chase after Kai Yang and get rid of his love rival. He also couldn't let go of Xia Ningqiang. After all, if the news were to leak out, it wouldn't be a joke. "Brother, this isn't right." The disciplinary hall disciple's face was a bit panicked. He didn't care about Yang Kai. He was just a trial disciple at the initial element boundary, so even if he died outside, no one would care. However, that Xia Ningqiang from the Dark Hall was different. No one was clear about her background, but since she had the strength of a peak separation and reunion boundary cultivator, she was definitely not a nobody. If she died and the pavilion investigated, none of the senior brothers and junior brothers who were involved would be able to escape. I told you to do it, so just do it. What are you being so long-winded for? Xie Hongchen was full of impatience. Do you want me to go find her myself? Crazy jealousy had already made Xie Hongchen unable to maintain his composure. There was only one thought in his mind: to kill Yang Kai. Brother, after what happened last time, the Great Elder gave a strict order that no one is to have any ideas about Yang Kai. Did you forget? With this reminder, Xie Hongchen suddenly came to his senses. That's right, the Great Elder suddenly gave an order that no one was to find trouble with Yang Kai for a short period of time. However, this order was inexplicable, so Xie Hongchen didn't take it to heart. However, this was such a great opportunity, so how could he let it go? If he didn't kill Yang Kai this time, how long would he have to wait? What if he always hid in the sect and didn't go out? Just as he was unwilling to give up, the disciplinary hall disciple seemed to have thought of something and smiled slyly. Brother Xie, we can't do it, but others can. There are many people who want Yang Kai's life. What do you mean? Xie Hongchen narrowed his eyes and asked. That person said, it is said that the blood group's deputy chief Long Zai-Tian's grandson, Long Hui, has been inquiring about Yang Kai for the past month. Long Zai-Tian, Xie Hongchen naturally knew about him. He was a well-known figure in the blood group, and his strength was also at the immortal ascension boundary. His grandson didn't have any outstanding points, and this year he was only at the Qi transformation stage. Heh! Xie Hongchen was confused. Why is Long Hui inquiring about him? That person's expression couldn't help but become ambiguous. It seems to be related to that dragon lady, Hu Mai. Long Hui has been pursuing Hu Mai, regarding her as his exclusive property. However, the relationship between Yang Kai and Hu Mai is unclear. Long Hui said that one day he will kill Yang Kai and let him know the consequences of having ideas about his woman, Hu Mai. In front of Xie Hongchen's eyes appeared a charming young girl with ample breasts and perky buttocks. For a moment, his breathing became heavy. This dragon lady was good at seducing people's hearts. Almost all the young disciples of the three sects had heard of her, and Xie Hongchen had also seen her once. That waist really isn't a good thing, unexpectedly having a relationship with this dragon lady. Xie Hongchen was jealous to death, but his mouth was full of righteousness and anger. After thinking for a moment, he suspiciously asked, "That's not right, where did you get such detailed information?" Even if Long Hui wanted to take Yang Kai's life, he couldn't have done so with such great fanfare. Wasn't this beating the grass to scare the snake? If Yang Kai heard about it, how could he have the guts to leave High Heaven Pavilion? As long as Long Hui's brain wasn't damaged, he wouldn't have done such a thing. That person's face became awkward, and he didn't know how to answer. Speak. Xie Hongchen's face sank. Yes. This person had no choice but to confess. A few days ago, I was at Black Plum Village's Spring Breeze Drizzle building. When I was drinking, Long Hui happened to live next door, and I heard him talking to the girl in the room. Spring Breeze Drizzle building. Xie Hongchen unhappily looked at this junior brother. That was a brothel in Black Plum Village. What did he go there for? There was no need to ask, it couldn't be just for drinking. That person continued, Brother Xie, if Long Hui knew about this, he definitely wouldn't let Yang Kai off so easily. We don't need to do it ourselves. What's more, Long Hui is a lecher by nature. If we tell him that Yang Kai has a beautiful girl by his side, what do you think he will do? Xie Hongchen's eyes lit up, and he coldly laughed. Brilliant plan. This move of using a borrowed knife to kill someone was really not bad. After pondering for a moment, Xie Hongchen decided, since Long Hui wants to find him, then we'll send him a message. However, this matter must be done in secret and must not be exposed. We must not let him know that we were the ones who sent the message. In addition, we must tell Long Hui that the girl by Yang Kai's side has the strength of a peak separation and reunion boundary cultivator. Don't let him go for wool and come home shorn. Yes. That person hurriedly left after receiving the order. Yang Kai, let's see if you can survive this time. Only, it was a pity that Xia Ningchang. That girl always wore a veil. Although he had never seen her face, Xie Hongchen was almost certain that she was a stunning beauty. If such a girl fell into Long Hui's hands, there was no need to think about what would happen. For a moment, Hong Chen was somewhat envious of Long Hui. The High Heaven Pavilion's law enforcement hall was ready to make a move. Somewhere in Black Plum Town, there were also people who were ready to make a move. Not long after Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang rode away, a group of people suddenly emerged from the dark. The leader with a cold face stared at Yang Kai's back and asked, "Did you see that guy clearly? Is he Yang Kai?" "Absolutely. Senior brother Nu Lang, he is Yang Kai without a doubt. Last time, we were beaten up by him." After that, senior brother Cheng Xiaofeng went to look for senior brother Nu Dao and said that he would find an opportunity to teach him a lesson. However, ever since that time they went to Black Wind Trade City, the two of them never returned. Nu Lang's face was gloomy. He waved his hand and said, "Go buy some horses. I want to know whether my brother is dead or alive, and where he is." Nu Dao had been missing for more than a month. Nu Lang couldn't find him. After inquiring left and right, he finally found Yang Kai. To find out the truth, he had to catch up with that Yang Kai. If it was related to him, then as the older brother, he naturally had to avenge his younger brother. Chapter 86. In Nu Lang's group, he was the strongest. He had just broken through to the Qi transformation stage, so the Yuan Qi in his body was restless. At this stage, the cultivator was easily angered and controlled by all kinds of emotions. The other 7 or 8 people were mostly in the tempered body stage. There were also a few cultivators in the initial element stage, but their strength wasn't very high. It was just that they had a large number of people. Nu Lang had naturally heard of Yang Kai's strength, so he didn't take Yang Kai seriously. However, the girl following Yang Kai didn't seem to be easy to deal with. But after thinking about it carefully, this girl wasn't that great. After all, she didn't look very old. She didn't seem to be among the famous disciples of the High Heaven Pavilion. Moreover, if she was really strong, why would she need to buy a horse? When one's strength reached a certain level, one's leg strength was much faster than a horse's. Thinking of this, Nu Lang was relieved. He didn't know that the reason why Xia Ningchang wanted to buy a horse was to take care of Yang Kai. After all, Yang Kai was only at the initial element stage 4, so how fast could his leg strength be? The group of Stormhouse disciples quickly prepared and followed the tracks of the horses. Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang were also galloping, but they didn't know that there were 2 groups of people following them. Moreover, each group didn't have good intentions. Although Xia Ningchang's strength wasn't bad, after all, she hadn't condensed her divine sense, so it was impossible for her to investigate the surroundings. The 2 people galloped without saying a word. Xia Ningchang led the way in the front and Yang Kai followed closely behind her. The 2 horses galloped, one in front and one behind. Until night, the 2 people found a place with a water source to rest. After taking out the food they bought from Black Plum Town, the 2 people ate a little and then sat around the campfire to rest. After a day of getting along with each other, Yang Kai had figured out this little senior sister's temperament. Timid, shy, after a few words, her ears would turn red, and when she spoke, her voice was soft and gentle, as if she didn't have a temper. With her personality, Yang Kai didn't want to take the initiative to talk to her. He didn't want to scare her. Ever since the day he comprehended the mysteries of the unyielding golden skeleton and comprehended the mysterious martial skill unyielding will, Yang Kai discovered that his true Yang tactics had changed. Running the true Yang secret art in an environment with Yang Qi, he could absorb Yang Qi and condense Yang liquid. In an environment where there was no Yang Qi, he could still circulate his true Yang secret art and absorb the surrounding spiritual energy. After the true Yang Yuan Qi in his body was refined, it would be absorbed by his unyielding golden skeleton. The restriction of the cultivation environment disappeared in an instant. For Yang Kai, this was simply great news. After traveling for 3 days, the 2 people finally arrived at a small town 1,000 miles away from High Heaven Pavilion. They parked their horses in the town and found an inn to stay for the time being. According to Xia Ningchang, they wouldn't need horses for the rest of the journey. Because they were going into the mountains, horses naturally couldn't be brought in. Late at night, the inn was quiet. Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang stayed next door. The room was brightly lit. Yang Kai was meditating and cultivating, while Xia Ningchang was thinking about random things. In these 3 days of traveling together, the two didn't exchange more than 10 words. Xia Ningchang felt very awkward. After all, he came to ask for help, so it was somewhat unreasonable to neglect him like this. But every time he wanted to talk to him, Xia Ningchang couldn't muster up the courage. He was used to secretly observing him, so now that he suddenly had to meet him face to face, Xia Ningchang really didn't know what to do. Moreover, this junior brother seemed to be a taciturn person. If he went to talk to him, wouldn't he be annoyed? Just as Xia Ningchang was frowning, the other 2 groups of people in the inn were quietly paying attention to what was happening here. In a guest room, Long Hui and a group of Blood Group's elites were sitting inside. The dim candlelight flickered, illuminating Long Hui's somewhat distorted face. After the Blood Group's people got the news, they chased after them. But after all, they started a little late, so it wasn't until today that they finally caught up. After a moment of silence, Long Hui suddenly said, "Hall Master Wen, when do we start? That young Kai is staying in this inn. With Hall Master Wen's skill, it shouldn't be difficult to capture him, right?" Wen Fei Chen was a middle-aged man. His strength was at Yuan Qi boundary level 5, and he was one of the Blood Group's Hall Masters. Because the information Long Hui obtained was accurate, he found an expert to accompany him. His purpose was to capture Xia Ningchang alive. In addition to Wen Fei Chen, this group of people had many separation and reunion boundary experts. The number of people was about 6 or 7. It could be seen that Long Hui was making a big fuss in order to ensure that nothing would go wrong. Hearing this, Wen Fei Chen smiled, "Young Master Long, if you want this Wen to start now, it's not impossible. Although this is a small town, with this Wen's strength, if I want to deal with them, it will be easy. I won't disturb the bystanders, and I won't leave behind any clues." "Then what are we waiting for?" Long Hui's expression shook. "Yang Kai must die, and that woman must be captured alive. It is said that she is a peerless beauty. Since he dares to set his sights on my woman, then I'll give him a taste of his own medicine. I'll let him have a taste of his woman being targeted by others." Wen Fei Chen knew Long Hui's nature, so he didn't have much of a reaction. He only said, "But young Master Long, have you ever thought about why they came all the way to this place?" "Why?" Long Hui asked in a deep voice. Wen Fei Chen pondered for a moment, then said, "This one believes that they must have their own purpose. Perhaps, they want to enter Black Wind Mountain to find some kind of treasure." Long Hui frowned. "What does this have to do with us? There are many treasures in Black Wind Mountain, but not everyone can find them." Wen Fei Chen shook his head. "Young Master Long's words are wrong. You can enter Black Wind Mountain from High Heaven Pavilion, but they rode their horses for thousands of miles and stopped here. If I didn't guess wrong, tomorrow they will enter the mountain from here. Their purpose is so clear, then one thing can be certain. They know where the treasure is and will definitely find it. If we quietly follow them from behind and wait for them to find the treasure." It has to be said that Wen Fei Chen's observation was very meticulous, and his analysis was also quite accurate. He was worthy of being called an experienced person. Long Hui's eyes lit up. "We can take action and steal it." Wen Fei Chen smiled. "Young Master Long is right. But if young Master Long can't wait to have a beauty, then this one can take action tonight. I won't let you down." Long Hui hesitated, his expression somewhat uncertain. Wen Fei Chen said, "But if we wait a few more days, not only can we have a beauty, but we can also have the treasure. Think about it, if they spend so much effort to find the treasure, but it is snatched by us, then Yang Kai will be so angry that he will vomit blood, right?" Hearing this, Long Hui's hesitant expression immediately became firm. "Good, in any case, they can run away, but they can't run away from the temple. Then we will let Yang Kai live for a few more days, and we will just sit back and reap the benefit." Wen Fei Chen lightly smiled and said, "To be able to endure what normal people cannot, young Master Long is destined to be a person who does great things. This Long is impress. Haha, Hall Master Wen is overpraising me." This flattery made Long Hui extremely comfortable. Chapter 87. Wen Fei Chen was trying to please Long Hui. Naturally, there was a reason for this. Although the leader of the blood group, Hu Man, was an ambitious and ruthless person, but the heavens didn't favor him. In this life, he only had 2 beautiful daughters. In Wen Fei Chen's opinion, in the future, the blood group would sooner or later fall into the hands of the Long family. Naturally, he had to get along well with this young master. When the Long family took control of the blood group in the future, how could he not benefit? The group of people in the room finished their discussion and were about to rest. Suddenly, there was a soft knock on the door. "Come in," Wen Fei Chen shouted. The door opened and a disciple of the blood group who was on guard came in. He saluted Long Hui and then whispered a few words in Wen Fei Chen's ear. Wen Fei Chen's expression suddenly became strange. He couldn't help but whisper, "So that's how it is." Then, he winked at several people in the room and ordered, "Go, capture those people. We can't let them ruin Master Long's plans." "Yes." Several people responded and quickly went out of the room. "What happened?" Long Hui asked. Wen Fei Chen chuckled, "Young Master Long, this is really interesting. Do you remember that on our way here, there were many hoof prints along the way? But according to the information we received, Yang Kai's group was only 2 people. At that time, I guessed that those hoof prints were just people passing by. But I didn't expect that, besides us, there were other people following Yang Kai." "Oh!" Long Hui was surprised. "Who is it?" "A few small characters from Storm House. At this moment, they seem to be preparing to deal with Yang Kai. It seems that they don't know that the strength of the woman who is with Yang Kai is not something they can deal with. This is the same as courting death." Long Hui sneered, "Hallmaster Wen, have you arranged it properly? Of course, we can't let them ruin young Master Long's great plan." Wen Fei Chen nodded slightly. While the 2 of them were talking, a large number of people suddenly rushed in from outside the door. The disciples of the blood group who had just left had all returned. Accompanying them were Enyu Lang and the others who were panic-stricken. Enyu Lang's group was scared out of their wits. It wasn't easy for them to come here today. They were planning to capture Yang Kai and ask for the missing Enyu Dao and Cheng Xiaofeng. Who would have thought that before they could take action, they would be captured by this group of fiendish experts whose strength far surpassed theirs? Enyu Lang was scared out of his wits. After he was thrown in, he hurried to kneel and kowtow to beg for mercy. "Masters, we haven't offended you, have we? Please be magnanimous." "Shut up." A disciple of the blood group slapped him, causing his mouth to be filled with blood, but he didn't dare to say anything, he could only obediently obey. The people of the Storm House trembled in fear as they looked around. Although their strength wasn't high, they could see that any one of these people could kill them, not to mention that there were 6 or 7 experts surrounding them. Who did they offend? The group of people racked their brains but still couldn't figure it out. During this time, they hadn't done anything outrageous. At most, they had plotted to capture Yang Kai in the room just now, but they hadn't done anything yet, right? Why did they have to make such a big scene? Enyu Lang looked around and suddenly found a familiar young man in front of him. At this moment, the young man was looking at him with a smile. After thinking carefully, Enyu Lang's face changed greatly. He probed, "Are you Long Hui of the blood group?" Long Hui chuckled, "Do you know me?" Enyu Lang smiled embarrassedly, "Descendant of Senior Long, I have heard a lot about you." "Of course, I know you. Since you know me, this matter is easy to handle." Long Hui nodded slightly. Enyu Lang was full of doubts. He couldn't understand why they had met the people of the blood group thousands of miles away. Although it was a good thing to meet an old friend in a foreign land, but in this situation, people under the eaves had no choice but to lower their heads. "I ask you, why are you chasing after Yang Kai?" Long Hui narrowed his eyes and asked. Enyu Lang's heart skipped a beat. He thought that Long Hui was blaming him. Although he was scared, he didn't dare to hide the truth. After he finished, he said with a sad face, "Master Long, I only suspected that Yang Kai had something to do with my brother's disappearance. I didn't want to do anything to him. If you think there is a problem, I will immediately take people back to the Storm House. I will never have any ideas about Yang Kai again." Long Hui smiled. "Do you think that Yang Kai and I are friends? Are you not?" Enyu Lang looked timid. "What a joke." Long Hui coldly snorted, "What is this young master's identity? What is his identity? Are we friends? Your dog eyes are blind. Nu Lang didn't dare to answer. In his heart, he was cursing incessantly. He thought that since they weren't friends, why did you interfere in our grudges? Wasn't this like a dog trying to catch a mouse? You have no eyesight. Master Long has saved your lives this time, and you don't even know how to thank him. A disciple of the blood group reprimanded. Nu Lang and the others were confused. That disciple of the blood group sneered, "You only know that Yang Kai's strength is low, but do you know that the woman beside him is a master of separation and reunion boundary?" With this sentence, Nu Lang and the others were sweating profusely. Separation and reunion boundary, compared to Nu Lang's Qi transforming stage first level, it was 2 realms higher. If they were to really fight, that woman alone would be able to annihilate Nu Dao's entire army. At this moment, Nu Lang realized what kind of mistake he had made. For a moment, he was scared and rejoiced. He repeatedly kowtowed, "Thank you, Master Long, for saving us. We can't thank you enough." A group of people from the Storm House also quickly thanked him. "Well, it's good that you know." Long Hui seemed to enjoy the support of others. "I'm not afraid to tell you that this time, I came to take Yang Kai's life. But you have to wait for a few more days. Because of your rash actions, I almost beat the grass to scare the snake, which ruined my plan. We didn't know, please forgive us, Master Long." Nu Lang's face was full of fear and trepidation. "Forget it, I won't argue with you. Everyone's target is Yang Kai, so you can follow me. After I capture Yang Kai, you can inquire about your brother's whereabouts." Although Nu Lang felt that something was wrong, his group's strength was low, so how could they resist? He immediately nodded and said, "We will follow Master Long's order, even if we have to go through water and tread on fire, we won't refuse. Go back, I will find you tomorrow." Long Hui waved his hand. "Yes." Nu Lang and the others got up from the ground and slowly retreated. When they got out of the house, they realized that their clothes were soaked. After they left, Long Hui looked at Wen Fei Chen with a puzzled expression. "Hall Master Wen, why did you take them with you? Their strength is too low, so it's easy for them to be exposed. Can't we kill Yang Kai and capture that woman?" What Long Hui had just said was what Wen Fei Chen had told him. Although he had followed the instructions, Long Hui didn't understand the reason behind it. Chapter 88. Hearing the disdain in Long Hui's words, Wen Fei Chen smiled and said, "Killing Yang Kai and capturing that woman naturally doesn't require them to intervene. But young Master Long, since Yang Kai and that woman want to enter the Black Wind Mountains, they must have prepared beforehand and are not afraid of the dangers. But we are different. Although our strength is not weak, the Black Wind Mountains are full of dangers. Not to mention the powerful monster beast, there are some natural poisonous traps which could cause us to lose people. But if someone is in front of us, we don't need to worry about these things." After Long Hui finished listening, he finally understood what Wen Fei Chen was planning. He wanted to use Stormhouse's group as a stepping stone to avoid any possible dangers. "Well, Hall Master Wen's consideration is very thorough. I was negligent." Long Hui nodded slightly. "Young Master Long is talented and intelligent, but after all, you are not experienced enough and have a simple heart, so you didn't think of this layer." Wen Fei Chen chuckled. As for how to deal with the Stormhouse people, both of them had a tacit understanding, so there was no need to say more. That woman called Xia Ning Chang had the strength of peak separation and reunion boundary at such a young age, so there must be a master behind her. To deal with this kind of person, one must either not offend them, or cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. The Stormhouse people must not be left alive. After the arrangements were made, the blood group people went to sleep. The next day, Yang Kai and Xia Ning Chang, as Wen Fei Chen expected, changed direction from the small town and went directly into the Black Wind Mountains. After they left for half a day, the blood group and Stormhouse people dared to follow them. Xia Ning Chang's strength was not weak. If they were too close, they might be discovered, but if they were too far away, they might lose them, so half a day's time was the best. Wen Fei Chen had been in Jianghu for many years, so he naturally had some experience in tracking. He was certain that he would not lose track of these two juniors in the mountains. After entering the Black Wind Mountains, Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang's speed naturally slowed down. Without the whistling of the wind and the distance between them, the two people talked a lot, and after a day, they felt closer to each other. At night, Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang found a towering tree and went to rest on the trunk. The trunk was very spacious, so the two people were almost sitting side by side, leaving a small gap between them. Yang Kai could almost smell Ningchang's body fragrance. Little senior sister. After becoming familiar with each other, Kai Yang and her no longer had that feeling of estrangement. Even the way they addressed each other had changed. This was because Kai Yang felt that Xia Ningchang was like a child that hadn't grown up yet. Especially those pair of eyes, they gave off a feeling of innocence and innocence. Senior sister is senior sister, why did you add the word little? Xia Ningchang was a little unhappy. What's in that bag of yours? Ignoring her question, Kai Yang pointed to the bag she had put aside and asked. Yang Kai had been holding back this question for 4 or 5 days, so he had to get it out of his mouth. This. Xia Ningchang was easily changed the topic. She held the bag in her arms like it was a treasure. This is the material that Master has prepared over the years. When the time comes, if you can take the 9 yin yuan condensing dew, I will have to refine it on the spot. The 9 yin yuan condensing dew is a very special thing. Even if you take it, if you don't refine it within 2 hours, it will slowly dissipate. So that's how it is. Yang Kai nodded. Junior brother. Xia Ningchang suddenly called out kindly. What's wrong? I have a question for you. Good, I also have a question for you. Yang Kai smiled. Then we have to answer honestly, okay? Okay. I'll ask first. Xia Ningchang said impatiently. Go ahead. Yang Kai chuckled. I promise I won't lie to you. Xia Ningchang pursed her lips and turned to look at Yang Kai. She hesitated for a moment before saying, I heard Master say that when he asked for your help, you would make all sorts of excuses. But when you knew it was me who needed your help, you immediately agreed. Why? What do you think? Yang Kai also turned to look at her. When their eyes met, Xia Ningchang blushed a little. They were too close, so she quickly turned her head and said, I don't know, but Master said that you don't have good intentions and told me to be wary of you. Old man Meng said that? Yang Kai was furious. Yes. Xia Ningchang sold out her master without any guilt. That old man. Yang Kai was furious. What kind of person did he think he was? Then why did you agree to it? Yang Kai glanced at her and laughed. Your master is right. I don't have good intentions towards you, that's why I agreed so quickly. While grinning, he slowly approached Xia Ningchang. Xia Ningchang was startled and instinctively shrank back. Suddenly, she seemed to remember something and said with a serious expression, Junior brother, you can't beat me. This was the truth. Yang Kai estimated that if he continued to act presumptuously, he would immediately be sent flying. Xia Ningchang was indeed delicate, but that didn't mean she was easy to deal with. Yang Kai put away the smile on his face and his expression became serious. He slowly took out a bottle from his chest and carefully rubbed it. Because of this, Xia Ningchang was puzzled. Looking down, she saw that it was a bottle of High Heaven Pavilion's external injury medicine, blood coagulation cream. The scene from 2 months ago flashed through her mind. Xia Ningchang immediately covered her mouth and looked at Yang Kai in a daze. She didn't expect that he would still keep this bottle of blood coagulation cream. Yang Kai laughed. I, Yang Kai, can see who is good to me. After entering the sect for 3 years, this bottle of blood coagulation cream is the first warmth and care I've felt. How did you know? Xia Ningchang looked at him in disbelief. She really did leave this bottle of cream for Yang Kai, but wasn't he unconscious at the time? Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. There's a saying that one can recognize a woman by smelling her fragrance. Xia Ningchang's face turned red. These words made her feel like a lecher. But her heart relaxed. It turned out that he didn't hesitate to help her just because of this blood coagulation cream that was worth 10 sect contribution points. Master was wrong. It's your turn to ask. Since she had figured out her doubts, Xia Ningchang didn't want to get to the bottom of it, so she quickly changed the topic. Yang Kai carefully put away the bottle of blood coagulation cream and said, "Treasurer Meng couldn't have come because of an old illness, right?" Xia Ning Chang suddenly became bashful. After a long time, she shyly said, "I used medicine to knock him out." Yang Kai was stunned. Then he suddenly burst into laughter and couldn't stop. "What are you laughing at?" Xia Ning Chang was embarrassed and angry. "That night, he suddenly told me not to come. I had no choice but to knock him out." Yang Kai was still laughing. Xia Ning Chang couldn't help but lightly hit him a few times. After hitting him, she realized that this action was a bit too intimate. For a moment, she was embarrassed and didn't know what to do. "I'm going to rest. You can laugh by yourself." Xia Ning Chang was too embarrassed to stay here any longer. Leaping up, she jumped onto another tree and refused to pay any more attention to Kai Yang. Chapter 89. After walking for several days in the Blackwind Mountains, Yang Kai was surprised to find that they had not encountered any dangerous monster beast. Originally, he was full of worries. After all, there were many powerful monster beasts in the Blackwind Mountains. With his current strength, if he really encountered one, he would only become a burden to Xia Ning Chang. However, Xia Ning Chang obviously came prepared. He did not know what method he used to take Yang Kai to avoid these overlords of the jungle. The two people's walking route was also erratic. Sometimes they would go east, sometimes they would go west, often they would go in a big circle, but it was actually very safe. Occasionally, they would encounter a few level 2 or 3 monster beast, but in front of Xia Ning Chang, they would be defeated in a few moves. After carefully observing for a long time, Yang Kai figured out that Xia Ning Chang was using the dark green bracelet on her wrist to find the location of the powerful monster beast. Every time there was a demonic beast that this little senior sister found difficult to deal with blocking her path, her bracelet would emit a burst of dark green light. She had never worn this bracelet before. The only accessory she had was the sapphire on her forehead. Therefore, this bracelet should have been specially prepared for this trip. This was definitely an artifact. Yang Kai, in any case, had a little bit of eyesight, and this artifact was probably given to her by Treasurer Meng. In the end, where did Old Man Meng come from? The more Kai Yang thought about it, the more confused he became. He was just an insignificant shopkeeper of the contribution hall. How could he accept such a monstrous disciple like Xia Ning Chang? Furthermore, he even bestowed her with an artifact. This bracelet was not something an ordinary person would be able to take out. Although he didn't know what grade it was, Kai Yang estimated that it was at least an Earth-grade artifact. This kind of artifact was very rare in Sky Tower. Compared to Yang Kai and Xia Ning Chang's easy journey, the bloody battle gang following behind them were in deep water and scorching fire. In the past few days, large and small battles had been fought more than a dozen times. If it wasn't for the fact that this group of people from the blood group was not weak, perhaps they would have already become food for the monster beast. Although Wen Fei Chen was an expert at the 5th level of Yuan Qi realm, he wasn't in a very good state at the moment. Just now, the group of people actually encountered a monster beast that was at the peak of the 5th level. The peak of the 5th order was equivalent to the peak of the human Yuan Qi realm, which was several levels higher than his strength. An extremely difficult battle ensued. Although they relied on their advantage in numbers to drive the monster beast away, the blood group unexpectedly lost a separation and reunion boundary expert. Wen Fei Chen flew into a rage. This time, the bloody group sent a total of 8 people. Among them, Wen Fei Chen was the only one in the Yuan Qi realm. There were 4 separation and reunion boundary experts, and the rest were all in the Qi transformation realm. Among them, Long Hui's strength was the lowest, only at the 1st level of the Qi transformation realm. Originally, they thought that as long as they followed behind Yang Kai and Xia Ning Chang from a distance, they wouldn't encounter too much danger. However, only God knows what method these 2 people used to avoid the monster beast. Instead, they were the ones chasing after them. Now, they even lost a separation and reunion boundary expert. How could Wen Fei Chen not be angry? But now, it was impossible to back down. They had already lost a person, so could it be that they could still give up halfway? After resting for a moment, Wen Fei Chen bluntly said to Nu Lang, Go in front, we have to set off. Nu Lang looked at the severed limbs on the ground and his mind was in a trance. Just now, the blood group had lost a person. How could the Stormhouse's small characters be safe and sound? The two Stormhouse disciples were swallowed by the 5th-level monster beast, leaving only half of their arms on the ground. He finally understood why he felt something was wrong that night. How could the blood group be kind enough to bring him to Yang Kai? Clearly, they wanted to use the Stormhouse's disciples as a pathfinder, but even if he understood, he didn't dare to complain, let alone resist. Being the pathfinder in front, he might be lucky enough to survive, but at this time, if he resisted, only death awaited him. With a pale face, Nu Lang led the group of Stormhouse disciples in front. Behind him, Wen Fei Chen gave instructions, sometimes to the east, sometimes to the west. They didn't lose sight of Yang Kai and Xia Ningqiang. At this moment, Yang Kai, who was following Xia Ningqiang, suddenly stopped. He turned his head and looked in a certain direction, his eyes flashing with joy. What's wrong? Xia Ningqiang turned his head and asked, also stopping. Is there any danger over there? Yang Kai pointed to the side and asked. No danger, I don't feel any trace of the monster beast. Xia Ningqiang lowered her head and looked at her bracelet. Then let's go there. Yang Kai didn't say anything and rushed out. Although Xia Ningqiang didn't know why he was so happy, she could only follow him. After walking a distance of less than 100 feet, Xia Ningqiang suddenly felt a burst of hot air blowing towards her, burning her face red. Looking around, she saw a patch of bright red flowers the size of a palm growing on the sunny ground in front of her. There were a lot of flowers, at least a dozen of them. Meanwhile, Yang Kai was mercilessly plucking the flowers one by one without any trace of politeness. After a while, Yang Kai came back with a big harvest and said, Do you know what this is? Blue blood mystic sunflower, a low-level earth-grade material. So that's why you came here. Xia Ningqiang couldn't help but come to a realization. Low-level earth-grade. Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. That's not bad. He could feel that the yang attribute energy contained in each jasper blood mystic sunflower was no less than that of a 3-sun fruit. Just now, it was because of the reaction of the origin of yang on his chest that Yang Kai came here to take a look. Sure enough, he had a big harvest. Speaking of which, this place was considered the inner part of Blackwind Mountain, so there was no lack of natural treasures. However, the purpose of this trip was to help Xia Ningqiang, so even if Yang Kai wanted to, he couldn't look around. That would waste too much time and also be accompanied by a lot of risks. However, since he sensed it nearby, he naturally couldn't let it go. Do you want me to help you refine the pill? Xia Ningqiang asked. No need, I'll refine it at night when we rest. This little senior sister's alchemy skills were superb, but alchemy always consumed yuan qi. Walking in the dense forest, Yang Kai still felt that it was best to be careful. It was best not to waste yuan qi if he could. That's fine. Xia Ningqiang nodded, we're not far from that place. We'll reach it in about 2 to 3 days. There's plenty of time. It was unknown if it was because of luck, but Yang Kai's origin of yang only reacted after walking for a few days. However, after finding a dozen blue blood mystic sunflowers, Yang Kai actually found a few more yang attribute natural treasures just 1 day later. But this time, his luck was not as good as last time. These few stalks of yang attribute herbs were actually guarded by a third-order monster beast. He had no choice but to ask Xia Ningqiang to take action and drive the monster beast away so that Yang Kai could take it. On this day, the two passed through the forest and suddenly arrived at the edge of an incomparably huge valley. Xia Ningqiang let out a long breath. Junior brother, we're here. Chapter 90. The valley in front of them was very large, covering an area of about a few dozen square kilometers. Furthermore, it was a very standard circular valley. Standing at the edge of the valley, Kai Yang looked down and discovered that the bottom of the valley was about 300 feet from his current position. The bottom of the valley was verdant and lush, not much different from the forest outside. Moreover, the valley was filled with mountains and clear waters. The scenery was not bad. Xia Ningqiang looked down at her bracelet, and after a while, she said excitedly, My luck is pretty good, There isn't a monster beast that is too strong here. While speaking, she couldn't help but sigh in relief. Along the way, she could avoid the monster beast blocking the way, but if there was a monster beast that was too strong in this valley, she could only fight. After all, this was the place she was looking for. This place seems very ordinary. Young Kai frowned. It's just not the right time. Xia Ningchang smiled. If it wasn't for the 7th day of the 7th month, when Master and I happened to pass by here, I'm afraid we wouldn't have discovered the mystery of this place. It was also at that time that Master decided to let me refine the 9th yin yuan condensing dew. But why did he change his mind at the crucial moment? Also, you didn't tell me how I was going to help you collect that thing. A few days ago, they had been on the road, so Yang Kai didn't ask much, but now that they had arrived at their destination, he couldn't keep it in the dark. If the 9th yin yuan condensing dew appeared and he didn't know how to deal with it, wouldn't it ruin his plan? Therefore, he had to ask clearly and make some preparations. I'll tell you when the time comes. Xia Ningchang didn't answer. Yang Kai was puzzled, but he didn't ask. This matter was so mysterious, and Yang Kai was also puzzled by Treasurer Meng's attitude. But since he agreed to help, he would do his best when the time came. Come here. Xia Ningchang waved at Yang Kai. Yang Kai looked at her strangely. What? I'll take you down. Xia Ningchang blinked her big eyes and replied, it's so high up here. I can do it myself. Yang Kai immediately refused. What a joke, he was a man. How could he let a woman carry him down? What would that look like? After he finished speaking, he immediately leapt forward. While Xia Ningchang cried out in alarm, Kai Yang was like a meteorite falling from the sky, rapidly falling towards the ground. Xia Ningchang was scared out of his wits. Yang Kai's strength was not high. How could he survive if he was carried down like this? At that moment, she followed his footsteps closely. Her figure gracefully descended, ready to lend him a hand at the critical moment. The speed of their descent became faster and faster. When they were about a dozen feet from the ground, Yang Kai suddenly kicked to the side. With a loud bang, Yang Kai kicked the rock wall beside him. Using the rebound force, Yang Kai flipped a few times, offloading a lot of the force. His movements were wild as he shot out diagonally. Boom! Yang Kai landed on the ground. His legs bent slightly, smashing a hole in the ground. Dust flew everywhere. Xia Ningchang then landed lightly beside him. One was like a fairy descending to earth, while the other was like a rock falling to the ground. The visual impression was completely different. But no matter what, he still jumped down safely. Yang Kai's face secretly twitched. His two legs showed signs of trembling. Xia Ningchang pursed her lips, holding back her laughter. With her eyesight, how could she not see that her prideful junior brother had suffered a loss just now? A height of 300 feet. With his strength at the 4th level of the initial element realm, it was already a miracle that he could safely land on the ground. Xia Ningchang pretended to look around and said, today is the 5th day of the new year. In 2 days, it will be the 7th. I need to make some arrangements in this valley. Junior brother, wait for me here. There's no danger here anyway. Yang Kai's face was cold. He nodded silently. Xia Ningchang then rushed out. Before she left, she turned back and said worriedly, I need to make arrangements for a long time. Don't run around. Otherwise, I won't be able to find you. Yang Kai nodded slightly again. His expression was cold. He looked extremely handsome. When Xia Ningchang's figure disappeared from sight, Yang Kai sat down on the ground. His hands kept rubbing his legs, and he grimaced. Although he had cushioned a lot of the impact when he fell to the ground, it was still quite painful. After a long while, the numbness in his legs subsided. Yang Kai didn't stay idle. He had nothing to do, so he checked the terrain nearby. Although Xia Ningchang said there was no danger here, it couldn't be wrong to be careful. After some investigation, there was indeed nothing unusual in this valley. Xia Ningchang didn't return to Yang Kai until the afternoon of the next day. Although he didn't know what she had arranged, looking at her pale face, he knew that this arrangement must have consumed a lot of energy and yuan qi. I'll recover first. Tonight at midnight, The 9th yin congregation ground will gather all the yin qi. From that time until sunrise, we must find the 9th yin yuan condensing dew and then collect it. If we miss the time, it will hide again. Xia Ning Chang anxiously said. Then she took out a few pills and stuffed them into her mouth. She closed her eyes and meditated. Yang Kai stood on the side to protect her. He was motionless like a statue. At the edge of the valley, a few miles away, the people of Bloody Group and Stormhouse were all resting. This time, following Yang Kai and Xia Ning Chang deep into the Blackwind mountain range was really a big loss. There were originally 17 to 18 people, but now there were only 13 left. The others had all lost their lives under the attack of the monster beast. The Blood Group still had 7 people left. Among them, one of the separation and reunion boundary experts had died. The remaining 3 separation and reunion boundary experts were all injured. Even Wen Fei Chen had a long bloody scar on his chest. The remaining 2 Qi transforming boundary disciples were also exhausted. Stormhouse only had 6 small characters left. Apart from Nu Lang, who was at Qi transforming first level, there were 4 initial element realm disciples. There was also a tempered body disciple who was very lucky. He was just a little scared and now his mind was not clear. Among all the people present, the only one who was still in good condition was Long Hui. His identity was special. Every time there was a battle, he would be protected inside, so naturally he wouldn't be injured. After chasing for several days, they finally arrived here. Long Hui had already lost his patience. With a gloomy face, he said, "Hall leader Wen, do we still want to chase? If we continue to chase, I'm afraid our losses will be even greater. When grandfather investigates, who will be able to bear the blame?" Wen Fei Chen was annoyed. He knew that Long Hui wanted him to bear the blame for this mistake. He thought to himself, "I made this decision because I wanted to please you. If I had known that this trip would be so dangerous, why would I waste so much effort? I would have already killed Yang Kai in that small town." Although he thought like this, Wen Fei Chen still explained in a gentle voice, "No need to chase. It seems that they have already arrived at their destination. The valley ahead is their destination." Chapter 91. Hearing this, Long Hui's expression brightened. "You're saying that the thing they're looking for is right in front of them?" "That's right, they should have arrived here yesterday, but they haven't moved. It's clear that they've arrived at their destination." Wen Fei Chen replied with a smile. "Then what are we waiting for? Didn't we chase all the way here just for this moment?" Long Hui's heart was pounding. Heavenly treasures were secondary, he just wanted to see Xia Ning Chang's face. After holding back for so many days, how could he hold back? Wen Fei Chen smiled. "Although they've arrived at their destination, it seems that they haven't found what they're looking for. Young Master Long, please bear with it for a while longer. I promise that I won't let that woman fly away." Long Hui was a bit impatient. Last time in the small town, Wen Fei Chen had said the same thing. In the end, they had suffered heavy losses along the way. Now that he said the same thing again, Long Hui was a bit unhappy. But he couldn't appear too impatient, so after thinking about it, Long Hui could only say, "Then we'll wait at most for 2 more days. If they still haven't moved in 2 days, we'll take action." Wen Fei Chen nodded helplessly and sighed in his heart. Long Hui was a useless person who only had women in his heart. This kind of person definitely wouldn't have high achievements in the future. The night was dark and the wind was strong. Xia Ning Chang, who was recovering in the valley, finally opened his eyes. His tiredness was gone, and he had clearly completely recovered. After thanking him, he and Yang Kai took out some food to eat and drink. "It'll be midnight soon. At that time, this valley will be filled with yin qi. Junior brother, don't go too far away from me. Your cultivation isn't high, so the yuan qi in your body is limited. You can't afford to use it." Xia Ning Chang sternly warned. Kai Yang nodded his head. Although he had a few dozen drops of yang liquid stored in his dantian, so he didn't need to worry about the problem of consumption, but Kai Yang wouldn't tell anyone. The two talked for a while longer, when suddenly, there was a change in the valley. Logically speaking, There shouldn't be any wind in a valley that was hundreds of feet below the ground and surrounded by rock walls. However, at this moment, the sound of a chilly wind whistling suddenly rang out in the valley. The sound was like a woman crying at night, causing one's hair to stand on end and their hearts to tremble in fear. Along with the sudden rise of the cold wind, a chill rose from the ground, stimulating Yang Kai's true yang secret art to involuntarily circulate. This kind of chill didn't seem like the chill brought about by the whistling winter wind. Instead, it had a kind of eerie ghostly chill that seeped into one's bones. Circulating the true yang secret art once again, Yang Kai finally dispelled the chill in his heart. Junior brother. Xia Ning Chang suddenly pulled Yang Kai to his side, then took out a purple jade pendant and pinched it in his hand. As soon as he got close to Xia Ning Chang, Yang Kai felt the surrounding chill suddenly disappear without a trace, and instead a warm feeling flowed around him. Stay close to me, don't go too far, this jade pendant can resist the invasion of yin qi. Xia Ning Chang explained softly. Astonished, Kai Yang looked at the purple jade pendant and discovered that it was another artifact. Pinching it in the palm of Xia Ning Chang's hand, she poured her world qi into it, causing the jade pendant to emit a faint light, dispelling the surrounding yin qi. Yang Kai was shocked. The bracelet on this senior sister's wrist was an artifact, and now the jade pendant she took out was also an artifact. Just how many did she have? Why are you staring at me? Xia Ning Chang's face flushed red, her voice as soft as a mosquito's. Yang Kai stared blankly, only then did he realize that something was wrong. Because the jade pendant's range of effect was not very large, when the two stood together, their bodies were almost touching. Their arms and shoulders could clearly feel each other's body temperature, softness, and fragrance. Xia Ning Chang must have felt the same. Such an intimate situation made it difficult for her. A layer of shyness slowly appeared in her eyes, and her earlobes and neck were flushed red. Your yuan qi is very precious, you can't waste it here, you can only use it to subdue the 9 yin yuan condensing dew. Xia Ning Chang tried to find something to say, trying to divert his attention from Yang Kai's body temperature, but the more he thought about it, the more clearly he felt it. This is only the beginning, wait until midnight, this entire valley will be filled with yin qi. Junior brother, you must not leave me, otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable. Okay. Yang Kai nodded slightly. The two of them didn't speak, just stood close to each other, quietly waiting for the arrival of midnight. A few heartbeats. He was in a state of panic. Xia Ning Chang's body was getting hotter and hotter. For the first time in his life, he felt a prickling sensation. His whole body was itchy and unbearable. He wanted to move, but he didn't dare to move. In the end, his body was slightly trembling. Yang Kai noticed her embarrassment, looked at her blood-like skin, frowned and said, "How about I go out?" He was still very confident that he could resist the invasion of yin qi. After all, his true yang yuan qi was the nemesis of yin qi. Even if it was consumed, it wouldn't consume much. This little senior sister's face was too thin. Yang Kai saw her so uncomfortable, he also felt very uncomfortable. No. Xia Ning Chang quickly shook his head. You just stand by my side. Don't go out. She insisted. Yang Kai was helpless. On the other side, the people of the blood group had already noticed the movement here, and all of them rushed over. Looking at the churning yin qi below, Wen Fei Chen looked pensive. Long Hui said excitedly, Hall Master Wen, have they succeeded? As long as Yang Kai and Xia Ning Chang succeeded, then they could act without any scruples. Wen Fei Chen didn't immediately answer, he still carefully looked below. There was definitely something strange about the valley below, but with Wen Fei Chen's knowledge and experience, he still couldn't see it. Seeing Long Hui so anxious, Wen Fei Chen helplessly said, whether they succeeded or not, I don't know, but this is a sign that a treasure is about to appear. Why don't we? Before Wen Fei Chen could finish his words, Long Hui impatiently interrupted. No wait, since the treasure is about to appear, it doesn't matter whether they want it or not. Hall Master Wen, let's deal with them now, it won't be too late to take the treasure later. Wen Fei Chen sighed, he could only nod, okay, let's do it. In the darkness of the night, Long Hui's eyes flashed with a sinister light. Thinking about how that masked beauty was about to be stripped of all her defenses, revealing her beautiful face in front of him, and then having pleasure under his crotch, Long Hui couldn't suppress the excitement in his heart. Yang Kai, oh Yang Kai, you dare to have ideas about my woman, I'll let you know the taste of regret. Later, I won't kill you, I'll let you see with your own eyes how I humiliate your woman, let her scream miserably, then I'll enjoy your anger and helplessness. The group of 13 people didn't care about hiding their whereabouts anymore. Under Wen Fei Chen's command, they uniformly jumped down the valley. The Stormhouse's tempered body disciple was the most pitiful. He didn't dare to jump down dozens of feet, but the impatient Long Hui kicked him down. He fell to his death on the spot. Nu Lang and the others were angry, but they didn't dare to say anything. They felt extremely humiliated. Chapter 92. The Bloody Battle Gang and Stormhouse people were making too much noise. The tempered body cultivator's scream before he died was incomparably mournful, and it spread far and wide in the night. Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang heard it clearly. Their expressions changed, and they turned to look in that direction. They really didn't know that there were so many enemies tailing them these days. Wen Fei Chen's tracking method was quite good, and the distance between them was also very safe, so they didn't have to worry about being discovered. Although Xia Ningchang was at the peak of separation and reunion boundary, she couldn't detect movement too far away. Wen Fei Chen's plan naturally went smoothly. Why would other people come here? Xia Ningchang frowned. She didn't quite understand. Yang Kai's expression also became cold. According to this little senior sister, this place was just an ordinary valley. Every year on the 7th day of the 7th month, there would be a change in heaven and earth, so it wouldn't attract anyone's attention. In other words, those people who were not far away either happened to be nearby at this time and noticed the change here, or they were premeditated and followed the two of them all the way here. The possibility of the latter was very high. Because there were so many people coming, some people actually fell to their deaths when they jumped down. This was the interior of Blackwind Mountain. If these people really only came to the mountain to find medicine and hunt monster beast, they wouldn't bring people with low strength, and it was also impossible for so many people to move together. There may be trouble. Yang Kai's thoughts turned quickly, and he realized something was wrong. Let's hide first. Okay. Xia Ningchang nodded obediently. Want to leave? A cold shout suddenly came from behind, and then a figure suddenly appeared in front of the two of them. A palm strike struck, stopping Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang's steps. Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang were shocked by the strength of the person who came, and they both jumped back to dodge, circulating the Yuan Qi in their bodies, and secretly became vigilant. Yang Kai didn't intend to shed all pretense of cordiality before he figured out the true intentions of this person. Wen Fei Chen was the first to come here and stop Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang. Seeing that they were behaving themselves, he did not attack again and just watched quietly. Yang Kai didn't catch Wen Fei Chen's eye, but the masked Xia Ningchang made his eyes light up. He thought to himself, what a delicate and pure little girl. Although he couldn't see her face clearly, her eyes were as clear as stars, which was definitely not something an ordinary girl could have. What's more, this little girl's figure was also outstanding. Looking at those eyes, even Wen Fei Chen, who wasn't too fond of women, couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. If it was Long Hui, who knew what kind of ugly expression he would have revealed. The three of them were deadlocked for a long time. Yang Kai kept looking for a way out, but found that the middle-aged man in front of him was very strong. He just stood there, but it seemed that he was blocking all his escape routes. This person is a Yuan Qi expert, junior brother, don't act rashly. Xia Ningchang saw through his thoughts and whispered to Yang Kai. Yuan Qi expert. Yang Kai slowly took a breath and suppressed the restlessness in his heart. After a while, the group of people from Bloody Group and Stormhouse finally arrived. They scattered around Wen Fei Chen and looked at Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang with unkind eyes. Who are you people? Yang Kai narrowed his eyes and looked around, but found that he didn't recognize any of the people who came. His heart was full of doubts and couldn't help but ask. What he didn't know was that there were actually a few people in this group that he knew. However, their strength was too low and they were all eaten by demonic beasts on the way here. The only one left had fallen to his death when he jumped down just now. The person who wants your life. Long Hui flashed out from behind Wen Fei Chen and unceremoniously gave a cold smile. When he saw Xia Ningqiang, his pair of eyes immediately emitted a lush green light. Without the slightest scruple, he swept his gaze over Xia Ningqiang's body and praised, "Wonderful, wonderful. What a pure and lovely girl. This young master really didn't come here in vain." Xia Ningqiang's eyebrows furrowed, her face filled with disgust. Quietly, she hid behind Kai Yang. Although her strength was much higher than Kai Yang's, she was still a girl who didn't know much about the world. Hiding like this didn't cause her any psychological burden. Instead, she felt it was natural. The two of them were very close to each other, so when they stood like this, Yang Kai suddenly felt two soft lumps pressing against his back. He couldn't help but quietly take a deep breath and straighten his back. In this kind of crisis, Yang Kai's mood was calm and didn't have any ripples. He pondered for a moment and said, "Do you have enmity with us?" Now Yang Kai was sure that the other side didn't come here by chance. They were definitely premeditated. Otherwise, they wouldn't be full of hostility as soon as they met. Were these people provoked by Treasurer Meng and his disciple, or did he provoke them himself? Yang Kai had to investigate clearly. After all, even if he died, he should at least die knowing the truth, right? Of course there is enmity. Long Hui felt that victory was in his hands, so he didn't want to hide his identity. "Little brat, let me tell you. I am Long Hui, the grandson of Long Zai-Tian of Blood Group. You dared to have ideas about whom I err, but did you ever think that you would end up like this?" Yang Kai was stunned. He didn't expect that the one who came to find trouble with him would be such a person. The reason for this enmity was too groundless. He and Hu Mai had only met 3 times, so they didn't have much friendship. Unexpectedly, this person saw him as a rival in love. Besides lamenting about the fickleness of a villain, what else could Yang Kai say? However, when he mentioned Long Zai-Tian, Yang Kai remembered the old man he had met in the Blood Group's mining area. At that time, Long Zai-Tian had humiliated him. Yang Kai hadn't forgotten about it. After Long Hui finished speaking, Enyu Lang also said gloomily, "Enyu Dao is my younger brother." He and Cheng Xiaofeng disappeared together. "Little brat, let me ask you, do you have anything to do with their disappearance?" Unexpectedly, 2 groups of people came to find trouble with him. Yang Kai immediately understood the whole story. He secretly sighed that he had a lot of face. The first time he left the sect, he was unexpectedly targeted by 2 groups of people. Moreover, they even sent such a big force. This time, he had implicated Xia Ningqiang. Taking a deep breath, Yang Kai's face didn't show any fear. Even his expression was very calm. He reached out his hand and gently pinched Xia Ningqiang's fingers. He said in a low voice, "You don't have to worry about me. Find a chance to leave by yourself." Since he had caused this trouble himself, he couldn't let Xia Ningqiang suffer with him. If she left by herself, she might have a chance. Bringing him along would only be a burden. Although Yang Kai's voice was soft, the people opposite him still heard it clearly. Long Hui laughed loudly. "Want to leave? How could it be that easy? This young master has accompanied you in the mountains for so many days. How could there be no reward? Yang Kai, today you will die without a doubt. As for that little girl behind you, she will only become this young master's plaything. Don't worry, I won't kill her now. I won't let her die until I'm tired of playing with her." Yang Kai's face was cold. He shouted angrily, "Go!" At the same time, he turned around and grabbed Xia Ningqiang's arm. Under her shocked gaze, he used all his strength to throw her away. Wishful thinking. Wen Fei Chen smiled coldly. His figure flashed and suddenly appeared behind Xia Ningqiang. He hit her back with his palm. Chapter 93. Wen Fei Chen's attack wasn't meant to kill, but rather to block Xia Ningqiang's path of retreat. Xia Ningqiang's reaction wasn't slow either. Although he was caught off guard by Yang Kai's attack, he had already turned around before Wen Fei Chen's attack could reach him. He met Wen Fei Chen's attack head-on and used the latter's momentum to lightly float back to Yang Kai's side. Sigh. Yang Kai couldn't help but sigh when he saw this scene. With an Yuan Qi realm expert guarding this place and the opponent's well-trained troops, it was likely that this was a premeditated plan. This time, it would be difficult for them to escape. Hall Master Wen, capture this girl for me. If she dares to resist. Long Hui smiled sinisterly. It's fine to break her arms and legs, as long as you don't damage her face. I want to see what kind of peerless beauty is hidden under this veil. Wen Fei Chen chuckled. Young Master Long, please rest assured. I won't let you down. Originally, he was a little worried that Long Hui would blame him for injuring Xia Ningqiang in battle, but since he said that it was fine to break her arms and legs, what else did Wen Fei Chen have to worry about? This young master of the Long family was quite excited. At least he had some self-awareness and knew that he wasn't a match for this girl. If he could break her arms and legs, then he could do whatever he wanted. The conversation between the two was overheard by Yang Kai and Xia Ningqiang, and their eyes flashed with anger. Wen Fei Chen laughed loudly. Little girl, you also heard young Master Long's words. If you know what's good for you, then obediently allow yourself to be captured. I promise I won't hurt you. If you insist on resisting, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Xia Ningqiang spat. Don't even think about it. Good, good, good. Wen Fei Chen smiled coldly. You asked for it. As soon as he finished speaking, his body soared into the air like a swallow, and both of his palms struck out. The strength of an Yuan Qi realm expert erupted fiercely, and only the sound of a tiger's roar could be heard. The palm wind that was pushed out suddenly transformed into tiger heads, baring their fangs as they pounced towards Xia Ningqiang. Feeling the power contained in these palms, Xia Ningqiang's expression also became serious. Her two slender hands danced and quickly pointed a few finger winds to meet the palms. Then, she made a strange hand seal and pointed at the sapphire on her forehead. Her Yuan Qi violently surged. Although the power of those finger winds wasn't small, they couldn't stop Wen Fei Chen's attack. They only managed to slightly slow down the speed of those tiger heads before they were completely swallowed up. The next moment, the attack arrived in front of Xia Ningqiang. This unforeseen event happened so quickly that by the time Yang Kai reacted, it was already too late. Those tiger heads bit towards Xia Ningqiang one after another. Just as they were about to seriously injure her, the sapphire on her forehead suddenly fluctuated with a mysterious ripple. Along with this ripple, a semicircular light curtain suddenly appeared, like a large inverted bowl, completely covering her and Yang Kai. Wen Fei Chen's attack finally arrived, but as soon as those majestic tiger heads touched the light curtain, they whimpered and disappeared without a trace. Xia Ningqiang's body did not move, her face was as calm as the wind. Wen Fei Chen landed on the ground, his pair of eyes staring at the light curtain in shock, and cried out involuntarily, "A heaven-grade artifact." As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes burned, including Long Hui, who had a lustful look in his eyes. What? Long Hui finally turned his attention away from Xia Ningqiang and turned his head to look at Wen Fei Chen, his voice slightly trembling. Hall Master Wen, what did you just say? Wen Fei Chen's face trembled, his eyes bursting with traces of greed. He swallowed his saliva and said, "A heaven-grade artifact. To be able to easily block my attack, this is without a doubt a heaven-grade artifact." Really? Long Hui couldn't help but become excited. He didn't expect that this time, he just wanted to get rid of Yang Kai, this small character, but unexpectedly, he unintentionally inserted a willow tree into a shade. Not only would he obtain a beauty, but he would also obtain a heaven-grade artifact. Moreover, it was a defensive type artifact, which was more valuable than an offensive type artifact. A heaven-grade artifact was priceless, the blood group only had one, and it was still in the hands of Hu Man. If he gave this artifact to his grandfather, then his grandfather's strength would rise to a whole new level, and perhaps even Hu Man wouldn't be his opponent. Snatch it, he must snatch it. Long Hui excitedly shouted, "Hall Master Wen, if you can snatch this artifact, in the future, the position of Blood Group's deputy leader will be yours." Wen Fei Chen's expression brightened. Many thanks for Master Long's favor. Although he said so, Wen Fei Chen knew that to break the defense of this heaven-grade artifact, it would not be so easy. Looking at how his attack was completely ineffective, Wen Fei Chen knew that this was a difficult bone to chew. Fortunately, this little girl's strength was not high, so she definitely wouldn't be able to maintain this barrier for a long time. As long as he continued to attack, there would be an opportunity to break this barrier. Begin. Thinking of this, Wen Fei Chen lightly shouted and took the initiative to attack the light barrier. At the same time, the other experts of the blood group also fiercely displayed their skills. In a flash, layers of ripples appeared on the light barrier, but Xia Ningchang and Yang Kai, who were protected by the light barrier, were completely unharmed. All the attacks were blocked by the light barrier. This sudden change of events gave Yang Kai a little hope of escaping. His eyes flashed with a shrewd light, and his mind was rapidly turning, trying to find a way out before the light barrier was broken. "Junior brother, are you afraid?" Xia Ningchang suddenly asked. "Ian." Yang Kai turned to look at her. "We may die, are you afraid?" "What am I afraid of? You don't need to be afraid." Yang Kai responded, and looked at Long Hui coldly from more than 10 feet away. If they could capture this person, then they would have a bargaining chip. However, to break through the blockade of so many experts of the blood group and capture Long Hui, this was not an easy task. Even if Xia Ningchang took action, she would not be able to do it. "I am not afraid." Xia Ningchang gently smiled. They still don't know what they are going to face. Yang Kai was stunned by her words, but before he could understand the meaning of her words, the whole valley suddenly changed. It was midnight, July 7th, Yin Qi gathering. This was the place where the 9 yins converged. Suddenly, waves of cold yin qi emerged from the ground one after another. This yin qi surged as if strange giant hands were reaching out from the ground one after another. They kept climbing upwards, causing people to feel terrified just by looking at them. In the blink of an eye, the temperature of the whole valley dropped, and the bone-chilling cold made everyone unable to help but shiver. The experts of the blood group who were besieging the light barrier felt something was wrong, and hurriedly circulated their yuan qi to resist the erosion of the yin qi. Fortunately, although the yin qi made people feel uncomfortable, it was not lethal. As long as they circulated their yuan qi to resist it, there would not be any major hindrance. Even the small characters of the Stormhouse could resist it, not to mention the people of the blood group. However, if they stayed here for a long time, perhaps their yuan qi would be exhausted, and at that time, they would be frozen to death. After a while, the whole valley was covered by the yin qi. Xia Ningchang suddenly moved, her figure was graceful, as if she was dancing, accompanied by a strange hand sign. The yuan qi in her body was divided into countless and scattered in all directions. Chapter 94. Along with Xia Ningchang's actions, the dense yin qi in the entire mountain valley reacted. Looking down from above, it looked like a pot of boiling water. The yin qi seemed to have a life of its own as it kept rolling and squirming in the mountain valley. The scene was extremely terrifying. "Not good." Wen Fei Chen screamed. Although he didn't know what Xia Ningchang was doing, as a yuan qi 5th stage expert, he still had some insight. This woman had probably arranged some kind of spirit array in this mountain valley and was now activating it. If he really asked her to activate this unknown formation, he was afraid that there would be a change in the situation this time. "Come on. Quickly break this light curtain for me," Wen Fei Chen roared. He wanted to capture Xia Ningchang before the spirit array was activated. Otherwise, everything would be over. "You guys come here too, or I will kill you right now." Wen Fei Chen and the rest of the Stormhouse people shouted. Enyu Lang and the others didn't dare to hesitate. Originally, in this kind of fierce battle, they were completely useless. They also knew their own strength, so they just stood aside and watched the show. However, with Wen Fei Chen's order, they couldn't help but participate. These people's attacks were very weak, but they could more or less consume the defense of the light curtain. The group of 12 people had already used all of their strength to attack the semicircular light screen without any regard for their lives. Ripples appeared on the light curtain one after another. It seemed to be on the verge of collapsing, but it was still as firm as before. Inside the light curtain, Yang Kai was burning with anxiety. He wanted to help, but his strength was too low, so he couldn't do anything. He could only protect Xia Ningchang. In case the light curtain was broken, He could do his part. Xia Ningchang's movements were getting faster and faster. Her two hands had already turned into afterimages. The cold wind in the mountain valley was getting fiercer and fiercer. It sounded like the cries of ghosts and the howls of wolves, which made people feel terrified. Wen Fei Chen's dignified expression contained a trace of greed. He found that he had still underestimated the grade of this defensive artifact. This was at least a heaven-grade high-rank defensive artifact, otherwise it would have been impossible for it to last so long without breaking. Heaven-grade high-rank, it was enough to withstand the full blow of an immortal ascension boundary master. Having this thing was equivalent to having an extra life. After a full incense stick worth of time, a small crack suddenly appeared on the light screen. Following the appearance of the crack, Xia Ningchang's face turned pale. In order to activate this defensive secret treasure, she had consumed a lot of yuan qi, and now she had to multitask to activate the previous arrangement. The yuan qi in her body was like a flood that had broken through the dam, fiercely flowing out. Seeing a glimmer of hope, Wen Fei Chen urged everyone to attack while he also used his ultimate move. The yuan qi on his body began to surge, and he pushed his palm forward in a seemingly calm and slow manner. As his palm struck the light screen, the entire light screen shook violently. Xia Ningchang's delicate body trembled, and her face turned even paler. Catcher! The light screen finally cracked like a spider's web. Ha ha ha. Wen Fei Chen laughed loudly. He was confident that as long as he struck out with his palm again, this light screen would be completely broken. But before he could strike out with his next palm, the churning yin qi in the mountain valley suddenly calmed down, and the ghostly cries and howls also disappeared without a trace in an instant. Xia Ningchang's clear eyes flashed like stars as she shouted, "Seal!" At this moment, Xia Ningchang's preparations were finally complete. Hualala! In the sky, the sound of chains being swung suddenly rang out, like a soul-stirring melody. Everyone raised their heads in shock and saw several thick and black chains that were several meters long hovering in the air. These chains were completely formed from dense yin qi and emitted a ghastly coldness that caused one's heart to palpitate. These yin qi chains flew above the heads of the Blood Group and Storm Hall members, and in the next moment, as if they had a mind of their own, they rushed down. Wen Fei Chen's complexion changed greatly, knowing that he was still a step too late, and hurriedly struck out with his palm towards the light screen. At the same time, Xia Ningchang's body shook, and she no longer had the strength to stimulate her heaven-grade artifact. This palm strike went straight towards Xia Ningchang without any hindrance. At this critical moment, Yang Kai, who had been vigilant to the side, finally found an opportunity to act. Before the palm strike hit Xia Ningchang, he hurriedly pulled her back, but she was still swept by the edge of the palm strike, her delicate body trembling, and her face suddenly turned pale. Yang Kai picked her up by the waist and ran away without looking back. The number of enemies was too high, and their strength was too strong. He was not stupid enough to face them head-on. Just as Yang Kai was carrying Xia Ningchang to escape, the yin qi chains finally entangled the experts of the Blood Group. There were a total of 8 chains, when Fei Chen was the focus of Xia Ningchang's attention, and was targeted by 3 of the chains. The remaining 5 chains were also targeted by the separation and reunion boundary and qi transformation boundary experts of the Blood Group. The people who were entangled by the chains were horrified, thinking that their lives were over. Who would have thought that after entangling them, the chains would directly enter their bodies, and the 8 chains would disappear? Wen Fei Chen suddenly felt that his yuan qi boundary strength was suppressed by an invisible force, and could not help but groan. Opening his mouth, he spat out a mouthful of blood. The 3 separation and reunion boundary experts and the qi transformation disciple were also the same. Their complexions instantly became extremely pale, and they all vomited blood. The remaining qi transformation disciple unexpectedly lost his breath in an instant, and fell to the ground dead. What happened? Long Hui was furious. He just saw that the situation was good, and was about to destroy the opponent's heaven-grade secret treasure. In his heart, he was thinking about how to humiliate Xia Ningchang, but in the blink of an eye, one of his own side died, 5 were seriously injured, and even when Fei Chen was dispirited. How could Long Hui not be angry? The duck that was in his mouth flew away like that. Master Long, Please calm down. Wen Fei Chen resisted the piercing pain, circulating his yuan qi to expel the cold, and weakly explained, I'm afraid that woman had set up a trap here, and this time she used the power of the array to deal with us. We were not paying attention, and let her succeed. Trash, a bunch of trash. Long Hui flew into a rage, cursing loudly, so many people to deal with one person, and yet we were all defeated. Wen Fei Chen's face flashed with a trace of anger, but he suppressed it and said, although we were tricked, that woman is definitely not in a good condition. I'm afraid that she doesn't have the slightest bit of yuan qi. If we can catch up with them at this time, they are just lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Long Hui impatiently said, then what are we waiting for? Quickly chase after them. Wen Fei Chen's eyes turned to the group of small fries from Stormhouse, and said with a gloomy face, I'll give you a chance to live, if you can capture that woman. I, Wen Fei Chen, will be responsible for safely leaving this place. Just now, Xia Ningchang's 8 chains were all aimed at the experts of Blood Group, but the group of people from Stormhouse were not injured. There were 5 people who entered the valley alive, and now there were still 5. Compared to the Blood Group, their condition was much better. Chapter 95. How could Enyu Lang dare to disobey Wen Fei Chen's order? No matter how weak the other party looked, they were not someone they could deal with. They looked at each other and Enyu Lang asked, Senior Wen, are you sure that the girl has no strength to fight back? Absolutely sure. Wen Fei Chen answered patiently, if you chase after her now, any one of you will be able to capture her and bring her back to Master Long. There will be many benefits for you. Good. Then we will chase after her. Enyu Lang's eyes flashed with madness and hatred. These days, he had suffered a lot from the Blood Group. Many of his brothers from Stormhouse had died, and none of the body-tempering realm had survived. His anger could not be vented on Wen Fei Chen, so he could only shift it to Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang. Xia Ningchang had no strength to fight back, so how could they put Yang Kai in their eyes? After the people from Stormhouse disappeared into the gloomy mountain valley, Wen Fei Chen looked at the disciples of the Blood Group and said, you guys go too. Don't let that girl escape. She definitely has a strong backer behind her. Once this news is leaked out, our Blood Group will be in big trouble. Yes. Although these people were also very weak, this was an important matter, so they could only force themselves to go out and chase. At this time, only Long Hui and Wen Fei Chen were left in the valley. Long Hui's tone was slightly gentler as he asked, Hall Master Wen, what is going on? Wen Fei Chen smiled bitterly, I don't know what method that girl used, but my strength has been suppressed to Qi transformation level 3. The 3 chains that entered my body locked my Yuan Qi and Dantian. There is such a method. Long Hui's face was aghast. Wen Fei Chen nodded, if I am like this, then the other disciples are even worse. They can only use less than 30% of their strength. Then what should we do? Long Hui's face showed uneasiness. Don't worry. Wen Fei Chen shook his head. I didn't lie to those small fries from Stormhouse. That woman used such a powerful method and maintained her defensive secret treasure for a long time. Her Yuan Qi has already been depleted. Plus, she was hit by my palm. She has no choice but to surrender. As long as we find them, what belongs to you, young Master Long, will still be yours. Hearing this, Long Hui finally let out a sigh of relief. Rolling his eyes, he said, just now, Long Hui was too angry and his tone was a bit harsh. I hope Hall Master Wen won't take it to heart. After this matter is settled, I will definitely tell Grandfather about Hall Master Wen's hard work. Young Master Long, you're too serious. We're family. Wen Fei Chen smiled with satisfaction, but now, I would like to ask young Master Long to protect me. I will see if I can remove the yin qi chains in my body. All right. While they were talking, they didn't mention Yang Kai at all. In their eyes, Xia Ningchang was the troublesome one. Yang Kai was nothing. Now that Xia Ningchang had lost all her Yuan Qi, she was like a hedgehog that had been stripped of all its thorns. Anyone could easily take her down. At this moment, Yang Kai had already brought Xia Ningchang to the edge of the valley. There was a crack that only one person could enter at a time. Xia Ningchang was placed inside, while Yang Kai blocked the entrance. In front of the crack, there was a bush that blocked the entrance. The two of them were squeezed together, almost merging into one. Don't talk. Someone is coming. Young Kai held Xia Ningchang with one hand and whispered. Xia Ningchang's face was pale. She slightly nodded and held her breath. After a short while, Enyu Lang and his people flashed in front of them. The sound of their footsteps gradually faded away. The two sides were only a dozen or so feet apart. However, the night was dark and the wind was strong. The yin qi in the valley was thick, which allowed Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang to hide perfectly. After Enyu Lang and his people were far away, Xia Ningchang couldn't hold it in anymore. She spat out a mouthful of blood, which stained the scarf covering her face red. Wen Fei Chen's palm had hurt her after all. Are you okay? Yang Kai nervously asked. Help me get the pellet. Xia Ningchang's voice was weak. Her body softened and collapsed on the ground. She didn't even have the strength to move a finger. Where is it? In my arms. Yang Kai quickly put his hand into her arms. However, he quickly retracted his hand and looked at his little senior sister in front of him. Xia Ningchang was also looking at him. Her pale face blushed. Her body was slightly trembling. When Yang Kai had gently touched her chest, she had felt a lightning-like numbness from her chest to the bottom of her heart. She had almost fainted on the spot. Bear with it. Yang Kai knew that this was a critical moment. He didn't hesitate anymore. He whispered to Xia Ningchang. Then, he put his hand into Xia Ningchang's clothes again. It was summer. Xia Ningchang didn't wear much. Except for the outer skirt, she only wore underwear. When Yang Kai put his hand into her clothes, he felt like he had entered a paradise that made people forget to return. She was plump and soft, full of amazing elasticity. It wasn't small, but it wasn't too big either. He couldn't cover it with his palm. From time to time, his 5 fingers would come into contact with those small protrusions. Every time they touched, Xia Ningchang's body would tremble slightly. Feeling each other's burning body temperature, in just a few breaths of time, whether it was Kai Yang or Xia Ningchang, both of them were short of breath and their blood was rapidly flowing through their bodies. Yang Kai was fine. Although he was a bit embarrassed, he was still a man. He thickened his skin and pretended that nothing had happened. On the other hand, Xia Ningchang's clear eyes seemed to contain a pool of spring water. Her expression was shy and angry. The breath she exhaled was fragrant and indescribably attractive. Don't think too much. Yang Kai comforted her as he carefully searched. Xia Ningchang finally couldn't help it. She held her breath and said weakly, "It's on the other side." Oh. Yang Kai suddenly came back to his senses. He was wondering why he couldn't find it after searching for so long. It turned out that it wasn't on this side. What a mess. He reached into the other side and searched deeply. In the end, he found several small bottles. During this time, he didn't know how many times Xia Ningchang shook them. Which one? Yang Kai asked. The one in the middle. Xia Ningchang's voice was very weak. She signaled with her eyes. Yang Kai quickly picked up the bottle in the middle and poured out some pills. He lifted the cloth covering his face and stuffed all of them into Xia Ningchang's mouth. This little senior sister had a special constitution. The sacred spirit medicine body was the best human body cauldron in the world. No matter how many pills she ate, there would be no side effects. After several pills entered her stomach, Xia Ningchang closed her eyes and meditated. Yang Kai turned around and vigilantly watched for any movements outside. After waiting for about an hour, Xia Ningchang gradually recovered. She opened her eyes and shyly looked at Yang Kai's back. Thinking back to what had just happened, Xia Ningchang's cheeks burned. Although she knew she had no choice, she still wanted to find a hole to hide in. It was too embarrassing. As if sensing Xia Ningchang's gaze, the vigilant Yang Kai suddenly turned around. When he saw that Xia Ningchang had finished cultivating, he couldn't help but sigh. Are you okay? Xia Ningchang's eyes flashed with panic. She quickly looked away. Although my life isn't in danger, I can't fight for a while. It's good that you're okay. Yang Kai finally relaxed. Chapter 96. Not daring to think about those shameful things, Xia Ningchang turned to advisor 4 and asked, "How did you find this hiding place?" This place could be said to be extremely hidden. It was simply a great place to hide. In the dark night, how did this junior brother find this place so accurately? Yang Kai grinned. "When you left earlier, I was wandering around and accidentally found this place. I didn't expect it to become a life-saving place. This is our luck." Xia Ningchang sighed. "You rest well. When things calm down, I'll find a way to take you out of here." Xia Ningchang's expression darkened, and he slowly shook his head. "We can't leave. Where there's a will, there's a way. Why can't we leave?" Yang Kai chuckled. "Because I activated the 9 Yin 8 locks array. Now this valley has been sealed off by the array. Before dawn, no one can leave here." Yang Kai suddenly realized, "So you left before to set up the array?" Xia Ningchang nodded slightly. "It was originally used to deal with the 9 Yin Yuan condensing dew, but I had no choice but to activate it ahead of time. Those eerie chains are the result of the array." Yang Kai recalled the scene just now. "Yes. Could they have been killed already?" Yang Kai's eyes lit up. If those experts were all dead, then they could definitely escape this time. Xia Ningchang shook his head. "No, this array is not focused on killing. Those people are not weak, they definitely can't be killed. At most, it can only kill 1 or 2 of the weaker ones. That's not bad." Yang Kai sighed in pity. "But, even though it can't kill them, their bodies have been invaded by the yin qi chains. I'm afraid most of their strength will be sealed. They won't be able to recover before dawn. I'll see if I can recover some strength before dawn, then we can escape from here together." Yang Kai suddenly stared at Xia Ningchang with a pair of aggressive eyes, his voice somewhat agitated as he asked, "You said that their strength will be sealed? How many are sealed?" Xia Ningchang pondered for a moment. "At least 60% to 70%. About 80% of that Yuan Qi realm master should have been sealed. In other words, they can't use their full strength right now." Yang Kai looked excited and eager to try. Xia Ningchang looked at him nervously. "What do you want to do? Even if their strength is sealed, they are not people you can deal with. Junior brother, don't be reckless." She knew what Yang Kai was thinking. Yang Kai chuckled, his eyes filled with eagerness. "How would we know if we don't try? Don't forget, this is the 9th Yin congregation ground. Their strength is now sealed, and they still have to resist the invasion of yin energy. They are probably weaker than you expected. But there are so many of them." Xia Ningchang grabbed Yang Kai's arm and shook his head. "Don't be impulsive." Yang Kai gently patted her hand. "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. If we keep hiding here, we will be discovered sooner or later. Once we become a turtle in a jar, we can only sit and wait for death. If I take the initiative to attack, I'm afraid there is still a little hope." "No." Xia Ningchang shook her head like a rattledrum. "I am senior sister, you have to listen to me. If you go out now, you won't be able to resist those people, and the yin energy in this valley will consume all of your yuan qi. Little senior sister, if you want to live, don't stop me. You saw that Long Hui's face. You should know what will happen to you if you fall into his hands." Xia Ningchang's body suddenly trembled. "That's it, don't stop me." Yang Kai broke free from Xia Ningchang's grasp. "If you insist on going out, take this with you." Xia Ningchang was powerless to stop him. If Yang Kai really wanted to go out, she couldn't stop him in her current state. She could only hand the jade pendant to him. "You need this more than I do." Yang Kai refused. "Don't worry. Although I am only at the 4th level of the initial element realm, I have a way to recover my yuan qi. The yin energy in this valley won't affect me. You, on the other hand, if someone finds this place, can you stop them? I have already recovered some of my yuan qi. I can activate the defensive secret treasure. Those people's strength has been greatly reduced, so they won't be a threat to me." Xia Ningchang nodded. "Then there is nothing to worry about." Yang Kai slowly got up and walked outside. After being powerless for so long, it was finally time to move his fists and feet. Yang Kai's expression was somewhat ferocious. After taking a few steps, Yang Kai stopped and said softly, "Little senior sister, if I don't come back at dawn, you have to quickly leave by yourself." Xia Ning Chang's heart clenched as an inexplicable pain spread. Yang Kai turned his head and smiled. "If I can come back, can you promise me one thing?" "What is it?" Xia Ning Chang held back the sadness in her heart and asked. "Let's talk about it when I come back." Yang Kai laughed and walked out of the crack in the mountain. He went outside and made some arrangements to cover the crack. Then he looked around and plunged into the darkness. Only Xia Ning Chang was left behind, lonely and desolate. There were still 3 to 4 hours until dawn, but there were more than a dozen enemies. This was definitely going to be a tough battle. In the dark forest, someone was running quickly. The footsteps were made by 2 people. Yang Kai hid behind a big tree, quietly waiting for the people to come. He didn't know which side these 2 people were from, and he didn't know what kind of strength they had. He could only make some inquiries first before making any plans. If these 2 people were too strong, Yang Kai could only avoid them and find a soft persimmon to pinch. The footsteps were getting closer and closer, and someone's voice could be heard. "Brother Xiong, where are they hiding? How come we haven't found them after searching for so long?" The other person said, "Junior brother, don't worry. Brother Nu and those bastards from the blood group are also looking for them. Yang Kai won't be able to hide for long. Let's just pretend. Maybe they have already captured Yang Kai and that girl." The junior brother nodded. "That's true. It's a pity for that girl. She seems to be very beautiful. If she falls into Long Hui's hands, I don't know how she will be ruined." Brother Xiong sneered. "Long Hui is a lecherous person. He is destined to have no great achievements. In the future, when we grow up, there will be a time when we can get back our face." As they were talking, a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. The 2 Stormhouse disciples suddenly stopped. Brother Xiong angrily shouted, "Who is it?" A light laugh came from the other side. "Aren't you looking for me, Yang Kai?" Brother Xiong was overjoyed. He didn't expect to meet Yang Kai, but he didn't expect him to throw himself into a trap. This was really a case of wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it without any effort. Brother Xiong was excited, and so was Yang Kai. Yang Kai already knew their identity from their conversation. Of the 5 people from Stormhouse, except for Nu Lang who was at Qi transforming stage 1, the rest were all at initial element stage. Yang Kai wasn't afraid of a cultivator at this stage. Chapter 97. These 2 Stormhouse disciples originally had no enmity with Yang Kai, but along the way, several of their junior brothers had died. They couldn't find Wen Fei Chen for revenge, so they could only blame it on Yang Kai. Now that they had met their enemy, it was natural that their eyes would turn red. Brother Xiong looked at Yang Kai with a mocking smile and said coldly, "You have guts, you actually dared to throw yourself into the trap. Where is the girl you saved? Beat me and I'll tell you." Yang Kai cracked his knuckles, shook his neck, and slowly walked towards the 2 people. Brother Xiong sneered, "Junior brother, you don't know what's good for you. I'll go teach him a lesson." As he spoke, he unsheathed the long sword at his waist and charged towards Kai Yang to attack. Brother Xiong had the strength of initial element realm level 6, while Yang Kai was only at initial element realm level 4. There was already a gap of 2 levels between them, not to mention that Brother Xiong was holding a sharp weapon, so he felt that he had the upper hand. This sword was just a test, and Brother Xiong didn't expect to kill Yang Kai in one move. In the darkness, the sword flashed, and Yang Kai dodged sideways. He raised his palms and began to fight with Brother Xiong of Stormhouse. Using his palms against the sword, Yang Kai was restrained in every way. He kept retreating, and by the time Brother Xiong stabbed out for the 9th time, he had already retreated more than 10 steps. Brother Xiong laughed loudly. A grain of rice dares to show off its brilliance. "Yang Kai, give me your life." The previous test had allowed him to understand Yang Kai's details, so it was naturally time to kill him. The Yuan Qi in his body began to circulate, and Brother Xiong's long sword faintly emitted the sound of wind and thunder. "Thunder wind chant." Brother Xiong majestically shouted out his sword move. Suddenly, an arc of light appeared on his long sword, and with unparalleled sharpness, it stabbed towards Yang Kai's chest at a speed that he couldn't dodge. As expected, Yang Kai couldn't dodge, but there was no trace of fear on his face. Instead, he raised his palm and slapped the sword. Brother Xiong sneered. He thought to himself, "My sword is now filled with thunder power. If a mere initial element 4th level cultivator like you really touches it, I'm afraid you'll be electrocuted and paralyzed. At that time, you'll be at my mercy." Thinking of this, Brother Xiong did not withdraw his move at all. Instead, his sword moves became faster and faster. Yang Kai shouted. His palm suddenly became extremely red, as if there was a burning flame. A wave of hot air rushed towards Brother Xiong. Not only did it dispel the cold around him, it also made him feel as if he had fallen into a sea of fire. Clang! The sword rang. Yang Kai's palm hit the sword, and the arc of light on the sword suddenly disappeared. With this slap, the long sword also deviated from its direction, and pierced past Yang Kai's shoulder without hurting him at all. Brother Xiong was shocked. In this confrontation, his Yuan Qi was actually not a match for the opponent. He thought to himself, "Isn't he only at the initial element 4th level? Why is the Yuan Qi in his body more vigorous than mine? Moreover, the burning Yuan Qi in his palm just now was too pure. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to extinguish my thunder power." Panicking, Brother Xiong hurriedly withdrew his sword and retreated. He was preparing to adjust his breathing and slowly attack again, but how could Yang Kai give him this opportunity? Taking advantage of the time when Brother withdrew his sword, Yang Kai took a step forward, and under Brother Xiong's shocked and frightened gaze, Yang Kai pointed a finger at his heart. Knowing that the number of enemies he had to deal with was not small, Yang Kai was quite decisive. He did not hesitate to use a drop of yang liquid to kill his opponent in one strike. Brother Xiong's body suddenly stopped moving, leaving only the whistling of the cold wind in the valley, as if crying and complaining. The Stormhouse junior brother who was on the side did not understand for a moment, and could not help but softly call out, "Brother Xiong, Brother Xiong." Before his voice fell, Brother Xiong's body suddenly fell straight down. Yang Kai laughed nastily. "Your Xiong brother is waiting for you on the road to the underworld." The junior brother was stunned, and immediately let out a strange cry and ran away. His strength was slightly inferior to Brother Xiong's. He was only at the initial element boundary 5th level. Yang Kai had killed Brother Xiong effortlessly, so wouldn't it be easy to deal with him? "You think you can escape?" Yang Kai sneered, holding Brother Xiong's sword in his hand, and chased after him. It had to be said that the dense yin qi in the valley was a great help to Yang Kai. Under the corrosion of the yin qi, everyone's strength would be reduced. Only Yang Kai practiced the true yang secret art. The yuan qi in his body was the nemesis of the yin qi, so he did not need to worry about being affected. He just needed to consume a bit of true yang yuan qi to dispel the chill. Although the Stormhouse junior brother was at the initial element boundary 5th level, the strength he could display in this valley was lower than Yang Kai's. After chasing for a short time, Yang Kai closed the distance between the two of them to about 10 meters, which was more than enough distance for him. Yang Kai suddenly threw the sword in his hand as he ran. Hearing the sound of wind behind him, the Stormhouse junior brother nimbly made a dodging action, narrowly avoiding the sword. But with this delay, the distance of 10 feet was suddenly reduced to 0. Unable to escape, the Stormhouse junior brother decisively turned around and pulled out his weapon to fight Yang Kai. But a red light flashed in front of him, and he instinctively blocked it with his weapon. With a kasheng sound, the steel weapon in his hand was cut in half by the red light, as fragile as tofu. The next moment, he felt a heat on his neck, as if something had cut through it. Yang Kai stopped, a thin blood-red blade as thin as a cicada's wing flashing on his fingertips. A drop of blood rolled down the blade. The Stormhouse junior brother gulped and stared blankly at Yang Kai. He pointed at him, but couldn't say anything. After a few breaths, his head suddenly flew up into the sky, and a bloody mist burst out from his neck. Kill 2 people first. This battle was effortless, so easy that Yang Kai didn't even use unyielding will. In the past battles, Yang Kai always had to use this mysterious martial skill to defeat his enemies. But this time, he discovered that even if he didn't use this martial skill, he still had the strength to kill people above his level. Yang Kai felt the need to re-examine himself. Just as Yang Kai was about to quickly leave the scene, he heard the sound of clothes flapping in the wind from both sides. There were 2 people quickly approaching from the left, and one from the right. It should be the strange cry of the junior brother that had attracted them. They were about 100 feet away from him. Yang Kai originally wanted to hide, but after thinking carefully, he suddenly quickly approached from the left. If he wasn't wrong, the people coming should be the remaining 3 people from Stormhouse. They might have separated to make it easier to find him and Xia Ningchang, but they weren't too far away from each other. Now that the remaining 3 people were all here, Yang Kai naturally couldn't ask for more. The strength of the Stormhouse people was much lower than that of the Blood Group people, so he could use them to test his own strength. Chapter 98. However, among these 3 people, Enyu Lang was the cultivator at Qi transforming stage 1st level, so it would be a bit troublesome to deal with him. Therefore, Yang Kai had to first deal with the other 2 initial element stage Stormhouse disciples before he could have a good fight with Enyu Lang. He wanted to see if he, as an initial element stage 4th level, had the ability to defeat a Qi transforming stage opponent. Yang Kai's fighting spirit was high, and his blood and Qi were rolling. Yang Kai's prediction was correct. The 2 people on the left were indeed Stormhouse disciples. Their strength was about the same as the 2 people from before, so even if they were stronger, they wouldn't be that much stronger. Hearing their junior brothers shout, the 2 people hadn't yet arrived at the scene of the accident when they saw a person dashing towards them. Who is it? The 2 Stormhouse disciples stopped and vigilantly looked at the person. Yang Kai didn't answer. His speed suddenly increased, and he fiercely rushed towards them. Feeling Yang Kai's killing intent and hostility, how could the 2 people not react? They cried out in alarm, "It's Yang Kai." As soon as they finished speaking, their weapons were already in their hands, and they fiercely attacked Yang Kai from the left and right. Yang Kai's fighting spirit was very strong. Facing the 2 people's attacks, he didn't retreat at all. His body was like lightning, and the blood-red blade on his fingertips flew out, fiercely shooting towards one of the 2 people. That person raised his weapon to block, but how could an ordinary weapon block this blade made from a drop of yang liquid? As soon as they came into contact, the Stormhouse disciple's weapon was directly cut off. Fortunately, this person's reaction wasn't slow. In a panic, he suddenly dodged, barely avoiding the fatal blow, and let the blade fly past his waist. With a piercing sound, this person screamed. He felt as if his waist was branded by a soldering iron, and the air was suddenly filled with the smell of burnt flesh. "Brother!" The other person's expression changed, and the attack he was about to attack suddenly shrank back a bit. In a life-and-death battle, his retreat was equal to exposing himself to Yang Kai's attack. How could Yang Kai be polite to him? Casually blocking the sharp edge of the opponent's weapon, he pressed his palm on the opponent's chest. Vigorous and scorching hot true Yang Yuan Qi poured into the opponent's heart meridian. The opponent's eyes bulged, and he flew out in response. He fell to the ground, spasming for a moment, and then stopped moving. He was actually killed in a single exchange, even faster than that senior brother Xiong from before. Yang Kai's attack was successful, but before he could pull back, the Stormhouse disciple who was still alive actually swung his sword at him. Unable to dodge, Yang Kai could only instinctively tighten his muscles. Swoosh! The sword flashed, and a bloody wound appeared on his abdomen. Pain spread from the wound, and blood seeped out. Yang Kai was unmoved, and only a crazy and bloodthirsty smile appeared on his face. He turned his head and looked at the opponent. That person saw his own junior brother die in front of him, and in his anger, how could he care about anything else? There was only one thought in his mind: to kill Yang Kai and avenge his junior brother. After his attack succeeded, he stabbed again, aiming for Yang Kai's throat. Yang Kai raised his arm to block, and the sword stabbed about an inch into his arm. It was pressed against the bone, but there was no way for it to go any further. Hey. Letting the blood drip down, Yang Kai grinned maliciously at him. In the darkness, 2 rows of snow-white fangs were exposed, like a fierce beast that was choosing its prey. At this moment, Yang Kai's entire body was filled with an evil aura. Crazy, excited, and bloodthirsty evil aura. That smile was even more chilling. You. This Stormhouse disciple, who was still alive, had never seen such a person. After being stabbed twice by him, he was still able to laugh. Was this person crazy? He was frightened, and wanted to jump back. In a battle of life and death, being frightened by the enemy's aura, how could he survive? Yang Kai raised his leg and kicked him in the crotch. The sound of something being kicked was heard. The man immediately bent his waist and knelt on the ground, his face pale. Pulling out the long sword that was stuck in his arm, Kai Yang threw it down, impaling him on the spot. 2 more killed. Swoosh. At this moment, a person finally appeared from the right. It was Enyu Lang. These 5 people of Stormhouse were divided into 3 groups, searching for Yang Kai and Xia Ningchang, but they didn't expect that Yang Kai would defeat them one by one. At first glance, Enyu Lang saw his 2 dead junior brothers on the ground. In a blink of an eye, he glared at Yang Kai and asked, "Did you kill them?" Yang Kai turned his head to look at him. His face was crazy but calm. "Seems like everybody underestimated you. I didn't expect you to have this ability." Enyu Lang's face was extremely gloomy. He pressed down the anger in his heart, took a deep breath and said, "I have something to ask you." "No need to ask. I killed Enyu Lang and Cheng Xiaofeng. You didn't guess wrong. It was you." Enyu Lang's body shook. He had always hoped that his brother had just gone out to play. Although the possibility was low, it was still a hope. But now, this hope was broken by Yang Kai. He admitted that his brother's disappearance was related to him, and he killed him. "They wanted to kill me. Of course, I can kill them." Yang Kai was a little impatient. "Don't talk nonsense. Let's fight." "Good, good, good." Enyu Lang's murderous intent soared as he glared at Yang Kai with resentment. "Since you dare to take responsibility for your actions, I won't say anything more. Today, I will use your life to pay tribute to his soul in heaven." While talking, Enyu Lang launched his movement skill. His body flashed and arrived in front of Yang Kai in a blink of an eye. His hand swept horizontally towards Yang Kai's throat like an eagle's claw. Yang Kai's face was cold. The strength of a cultivator at the Qi transforming realm was really different from that of a cultivator at the initial element realm. The power of this attack was incomparable. In a hurry, Yang Kai leaned back and put his hand on his throat to protect his vital parts. Enyu Lang beamed a faint smile. His 5 fingers changed direction midway, trying to grab something. Swish! Yang Kai stumbled back a few steps. Looking down, he saw that his clothes had been torn apart, and there were 5 blood-red claw marks on his chest. Furthermore, there was a strange aura that had invaded his body. He activated the True Yang secret art and dissolved the Qi in a blink of an eye. "You're just a level 4 initial element realm warrior. How dare you be so presumptuous in front of me? I won't kill you quickly. I will torture you until you wish you were dead." Enyu Lang's face became more ferocious as his attack succeeded. "Fancy but impractical moves. You fight like a woman and scratch people. Don't you feel ashamed?" Yang Kai tore off his tattered clothes, revealing his skinny but strong body. He sneered with a cold face. Enyu Lang's face reddened, but he couldn't refute. Who asked him to cultivate claw martial arts? This was indeed a little inelegant. You have a sharp tongue. Don't beg for mercy later. Enyu Lang didn't want to show off his courage. His hands were like eagle claws, attacking again. You want to taste the power of my fists? Yang Kai laughed and punched towards the 2 crazy claws. You're overestimating yourself. Enyu Lang sneered. With his Qi transforming realm level 1 cultivation, even if it was a hard rock, he could scratch a few holes in it. Not to mention the fist of a cultivator at the initial element realm level 4. Chapter 99. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them started to fight. Yang Kai's fist fiercely hit Enyu Lang's palm, but Enyu Lang's 5 fingers grabbed it tightly. The Yuan Qi in their bodies burst out at the same time, colliding with each other. What? Enyu Lang was surprised. He found that the yuan qi in Yang Kai's body was so overbearing that even he couldn't resist it for a long time. How could it be? There was a big gap between their strengths. No matter what, he couldn't be a threat to him. However, the fact was in front of him, so Enyu Lang had to be cautious. If this stalemate continued, he was afraid that his 5 fingers would really be burned. Thinking of this, Enyu Lang retracted his hand and jumped back a few steps. He wanted to take advantage of this short time to dissolve the yuan qi in his body. Looking at Yang Kai with a gloomy face, Enyu Lang was even more surprised. Because when they had fought a moment ago, he hadn't been able to crush Yang Kai's fist. Although he had left 5 finger holes on his fist, it wasn't the result he had expected. In his estimation, that grab just now should have been able to crush his entire fist. This kid. He did have some skills. No wonder why his junior brothers were killed by him. It seemed he didn't win by luck. Enyu Lang's face became solemn. Yang Kai shook his fist, bowed his head and looked at it. When he raised his eyes again, the craziness in his eyes was thicker. Yang Kai had been hiding, letting the blood in his body boil, feeling the pain from his wounds, and feeling the pressure from the enemy. He had been trying to raise his unyielding will. Only with an unyielding will and determination to win would the mysterious martial skill that belonged solely to him be able to display its greatest effect. And now, this moment had come. Yang Kai didn't need to be suppressed anymore. A flow of boiling hot energy came out from his bones. Along with this flow of hot energy, Yang Kai felt that his entire body had changed. Before, when he had accidentally triggered the unyielding will, Yang Kai didn't know why. Even if he defeated the enemy, he was still confused. But this time, it was different. He could clearly feel a huge amount of energy being generated from his bones, pouring into his meridians, nourishing his flesh and blood, and crazily increasing his strength. Again, Yang Kai was like a wolf hunting for prey in the jungle. His eyes gazed at Enyu Lang, roaring and launching a strike. It was the same punch as before, without any fancy moves. "You want to die?" Enyu Lang sneered. Although he was surprised by Yang Kai's yuan qi, it didn't mean that Yang Kai could hurt him. As long as he stopped in time, even if the yuan qi was strange, he couldn't hurt him. On the other hand, he could hurt Yang Kai again and again, and there would always be a moment when he would be able to crush his entire fist. It could be said that the reckless way Yang Kai had chosen to fight was in line with Enyu Lang's taste. While sneering, Enyu Lang's big hand grabbed Yang Kai one more time. In the second head-on collision, Enyu Lang felt something was wrong because the power in Yang Kai's punch was much stronger than before. The yuan qi was also more ferocious. It was almost the same as the full power of the initial element realm level 5. But, so what? Initial element realm level 4 and initial element realm level 5 were the same in his eyes. They weren't a threat at all. Only death awaited them. After this exchange, the injury on Kai Yang's fist became more and more serious. Blood dripped from his fist, and his body was forced to retreat. He cut an extremely sorry figure. Enyu Lang had already started, but in for a penny, in for a pound. Taking advantage of the situation, he continued to attack Kai Yang. His claws whistled through the air, leaving a trail of claw marks in the darkness. Yang Kai didn't say anything. He just stubbornly fought back. When Enyu Lang's attack arrived, he threw out a punch. Left punch, right punch. His rhythm was clear. Although the wound on his hand wasn't light, he had blocked all of Enyu Lang's attacks, making him unable to take his life. In the dark night, muffled thuds echoed one after another. Along with each thud, Yang Kai's body retreated a few steps. The wound on his hand was getting more and more serious. However, his eyes didn't show any sign of panic. Instead, he was resolute. A thought of winning was brewing in his heart, waiting for the last moment to burst out. How could it be? Enyu Lang was extremely shocked. On the surface, it seemed that he had the absolute advantage. After all, his realm was much higher than Yang Kai's. If he couldn't gain the upper hand, then all his years of cultivation would have been in vain. However, Enyu Lang couldn't say anything. His 10 fingers had been burned by Yang Kai's yuan qi. Each of his fingers had a circle of blisters as if they were burned by fire. The 10 fingers were connected to the heart. The heart-piercing pain came from his fingertips, making him gasp for air. If it was only like this, Enyu Lang wouldn't be so shocked. What he was really shocked about was Yang Kai's strength. In the first battle, Yang Kai's strength was as he had observed. A mere 4th level of the initial element realm was nothing to be afraid of. The second battle, his strength had risen to 5th level of the initial element realm. The 4th battle, this kid's punch and the Yuan Qi fluctuation had reached 6th level of the initial element realm. The 7th battle, 7th level of the initial element realm. The 12th battle, 8th level of the initial element realm. It seemed that as the battle continued, this person's strength was rising like a sesame seed. This was extremely strange and unimaginable. Moreover, this rising didn't show any sign of stopping. Enyu Lang's face was aghast. He didn't know to what extent Kai Yang's strength had risen. If he had directly reached the Qi transforming stage, then he would have no hope of victory, because his opponent's world Qi was too overbearing. After half an hour, Enyu Lang couldn't fight with Yang Kai face to face anymore because he couldn't gain any advantage. Every time they fought, Yang Kai's body was like a rock, motionless at the same place. On the contrary, Enyu Lang was the one who was forced to retreat. Enyu Lang could only use his agility to deal with Yang Kai. He tried to find an opportunity to give Yang Kai a fatal blow. However, although Yang Kai's defense was simple, it was airtight. Enyu Lang couldn't find an opportunity to kill. 9th level of the initial element realm. Enyu Lang's eyes trembled. He found that after this battle, Yang Kai's strength had risen to the peak of the initial element realm. However, his Yuan Qi fluctuation finally stabilized and didn't continue to rise. This discovery made Enyu Lang heave a sigh of relief. Although he was only at the 1st level of the Qi transformation realm, which was only 1 level higher than the 9th level of the initial element realm, this 1 level difference was also a big gap. Therefore, Enyu Lang was still confident that he could kill Yang Kai. He must have eaten some kind of pellet to increase his strength. However, no matter what kind of pellet it was, there would be some side effects. His essence was still at the 4th level of the initial element realm. Regarding the Yuan Qi storage in his body, he couldn't be compared with Enyu Lang's. Enyu Lang was waiting for Yang Kai to be exhausted. Then, he would take his life. Chapter 100. While Enyu Lang had made up his mind, Yang Kai suddenly stopped his attack. He frowned as if he was thinking about something. In the next moment, a loud noise was heard. A fiery red light burst out in the dark night, frightening Enyu Lang to the point that his soul almost left his body. At this moment, Yang Kai's body was burning with a layer of flame. It wasn't a real flame. It was the effect of the Yuan Qi in his body when it reached a certain level. The fiery red Yuan Qi wrapped him up. For a moment, the heat wave hit his face. The Yin Qi in the valley seemed to have met its nemesis and couldn't gather around him anymore. Kai Yang's face was illuminated by the fiery red light of the world Qi. On his upper body, his refined muscles tightened, making him look wild and uninhibited, moving unhindered and unhindered. His fists were badly mutilated, and there was a sword wound about half a foot long on his abdomen. Blood was still flowing out of the wound, and his flesh was overturned. It was extremely terrifying. His eyes were scarlet, and like a trapped beast, they emitted endless madness and bloodthirsty aura. The evil aura was awe-inspiring. Enyu Lang was frightened. He hurriedly retreated a few steps and screamed, "Mad demon?" He thought that Yang Kai couldn't control the Yuan Qi in his body during the battle and let the Yuan Qi go crazy and swallow his mind. However, shouldn't this kind of thing only happen in the Qi transformation realm and above? He was just a cultivator in the initial element realm. How could this happen? Mad demon? Yang Kai turned his head to look at him. Although his eyes were frightening, his face was calm. He didn't have the expression that a person who had become the demon race should have. He said disdainfully, short-sighted. While talking, the burning Yuan Qi on his body was retracted. The flames in the sky disappeared, leaving only 2 fists covered with a layer of true Yang Yuan Qi. It looked like these 2 fists were holding 2 burning flames. The flames were swaying with the wind, but they didn't stop. Do you still have consciousness? Enyu Lang looked at young Kai in surprise. He wanted to find a trace of humanity in his eyes. However, he was disappointed. He couldn't see any humanity in those scarlet eyes. Only the crazy fighting spirit and the aura of slaughter were left. It shouldn't be. This was the state of the mad demon. His eyes didn't have any humanity. How could he still think? You tell me, do I? Yang Kai took a step forward. With this step, the distance between him and Enyu Lang was shortened to the limit. Enyu Lang was shocked. He never thought that Yang Kai's current speed would be so fast. Hurriedly retreating, it swept out its claws in an attempt to block Yang Kai's path. Kai Yang's burning right fist met that hand, and with a whistling sound, smashed into Enyu Lang's 5 fingers. Crack! A crisp sound echoed, followed by Enyu Lang's terrified scream. His body flew up like a kite. After he landed on the ground, he felt a heart-piercing pain from his 5 fingers. He looked around and found that his 5 fingers were twisted, and he couldn't straighten them anymore. His fingers were full of burns and his bones were broken. Not only that, there was also a flow of fierce and overbearing yuan qi invading his body, burning his meridians and flesh. Enyu Lang didn't dare to be careless. He quickly extended his other hand and hit his arm a few times to stop the yuan qi from invading his body. As soon as he finished this action, a light flashed in front of him. He raised his head and found that Yang Kai was approaching him. The flames on his fists were getting brighter. How could Enyu Lang dare to fight? At this moment, he knew that he, who had just reached the first level of the Qi transformation realm, couldn't beat Yang Kai, the cultivator of the initial element realm. Using all of his strength, Enyu Lang moved his feet and moved backward. At the same time, he let out a long shout. His shout was mixed with panic and fear, spreading far and wide. Flames suddenly appeared under Kai Yang's feet, and his speed suddenly increased to a level that even surprised him. Like a shadow, he chased after Enyu Lang, and fiercely punched him again and again. Bam bam bam, Enyu Lang took several punches in a row. He couldn't resist at all. His head was dizzy and his consciousness was blurred. After 50 steps, Enyu Lang finally understood that he couldn't get rid of Yang Kai's pursuit. At this moment, the young man's blood was stimulated. He suddenly stopped and shouted with a ferocious face, "Yang Kai, don't push me too far. Eagle soars the sky, die for me." This was Enyu Lang's most powerful claw attack. He poured all of his yuan qi into his hands, crossing them in front of his body to protect himself. Then, he aimed at Yang Kai's chest and fiercely tore it to both sides. The full power of a first level of the Qi transformation realm cultivator was something that even Yang Kai didn't dare to underestimate. Feeling the enormous killing power hidden in the 2 hands, Yang Kai's face became serious. If he were to be caught by him, Kai Yang reckoned that his chest would be torn apart. In that split second, Kai Yang instinctively leaned his body to the side. His fiery fists continued to smash towards Enyu Lang's face without losing any momentum. Both of them were risking their lives. This was destined to be the last attack that would give them a chance to live. Either you die or I die. Bang! When Kai Yang's fist landed on Enyu Lang's face, his delicate facial features immediately distorted. Enyu Lang's entire body was thrown backwards by the force of Kai Yang's punch. After flipping a few times in the air, he finally landed on the ground with a thud. Swoosh! Enyu Lang's 2 claws didn't disappoint as they swept towards Yang Kai's chest. However, the expected scene of Yang Kai being cut open didn't happen. Only 10 bloody scars were left on his chest, 5 shallow and 5 deep. At the crucial moment, Yang Kai's side move played a crucial role. One of Enyu Lang's finger bones had been broken just now. When the eagle soars the sky was used, the strength of the 2 hands was definitely different. Yang Kai's side move was to control the difference between the light and heavy forces, so that Enyu Lang's 2 hands couldn't exert force at the same time, which was equivalent to breaking his attack. This kind of response was the result of his mind and was also an instinctive reaction. During the battle, Yang Kai didn't think too much about it. However, it had to be said that this kind of counterattack was indeed ingenious. The scene suddenly quieted down. The result of this desperate battle had been decided. Yang Kai was gasping for breath, but his body was still full of evil aura. Enyu Lang was sprawled on the ground like a dead dog. His face was badly mutilated. He resentfully stared at Yang Kai, who was walking towards him step by step. Even if I become a ghost, I won't let you go. Enyu Lang swallowed the blood in his mouth and said ferociously. Yang Kai looked down at him, lifted one of his big feet and stomped down. Haha, the blood group's people will hear my message, they will come to kill. Enyu Lang hadn't finished his sentence when his neck was crushed by Yang Kai, and he died. The 5 people of Stormhouse were completely annihilated. Calmly standing at the same place, feeling the boiling blood and fighting spirit in his body. Yang Kai's face was grave and stern as he pondered for a moment. A crazy idea emerged in his mind. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.